like a gift, speeding down the lane. Victor's in our name. We win together, rain or shine. PHG forever, crossing the line. Wheels burn on the track. PHG is where it's at. Roads long and winding, but our team's always grinding. Underneath the starry sky, engines roar, we fly. Sweat beading on our brow. Teamwork's the key right now. We win together, rain or shine. PSG forever, crossing the line. Gasoline and fire, chasing every desire. Around the curves we go. Teamwork keeps our flow. Every gear we shift feels like a gift. Speeding down the lane, victories in our name. We win together, rain or shine. PSG forever, crossing the line. Gasoline and fire, chasing every desire.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Saturday splits 2 and 4 of the PHG World Series, round 1 at the Nurburgring. I am T-Case, and it looks like I'm going to be solo, at least for this first race. So you'll just get to hear me talking for quite a bit. I hope that's okay with everybody. Hopefully you tuned in with us last night because we had some exciting, fascinating multi-strategy races that were thoroughly enjoyable. Real quick, I'm just going to go over what these rounds are in case you don't know. We are doing 7 laps at the Nurburgring Endurance. 2 times tire wear and 3 times fuel. We saw yesterday that fuel is definitely a factor around here, and they are in Group 3 cars. Everybody had to pick a manufacturer during the week. Everyone qualified, and that's how we came up with these splits. The splits are based on where you qualified, and we will do a qualifying each week. So you might have been in split 2 this week, but next week you could be in split 1, you could be in split 4. All depends on how you qualified during the week. But now that everyone has qualified for this race, we will have another qualifying, 20-minute qualifying, just enough time for you to get in one hot lap. It is tricky and it is wet. We saw multiple strategies out there, and it was quite a lot of fun to see. And we are going to start with the split 2. Go ahead and So yeah, you guys saw all that. I do see that my mic was not on that channel, which is kind of annoying. So let me make a slight change. Thank you for letting us know, Chuck. I'm assuming you can hear me now. But let me go back to this, find this, and add my microphone. The behind the scenes audio input capture. Add existing. Add mic. Okay. Copy. And let me add it to this one. I appreciate your feedback, y'all. I am, like I said, running this solo. So let's take a look at this again now that you can hear me. So we have Enigma in the Lexus, Shadow Chef in the Nissan, Salamander in the Chevy, Evolved in the Genesis, Yeti in the Lamborghini, Turbo in the Porsche, Plankton in the Ferrari, Speedburner in the Porsche, Papa in the McLaren, Ecstasy also in the McLaren, Cornbread in the Mazda, Leo in the Mazda, Skellington in the Chevy, and Old Man Pip in the Renault. So we do have a few drivers missing today. So unfortunately, real life does get in the way, and we can't always do the things we enjoy doing. We got to be responsible every now and again. I hope everyone's doing well. If you are just tuning in, please go ahead and click that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. This has been really fun. I really enjoyed last night. It was a lot. It was definitely a lot. And I'm excited to see what these guys do today. I see Shaggy is going to be starting the qualifying soon. We have a total of 11 drivers at the moment. And it's going to be a fun one. So well, my headphones just turned off. For some reason, my headphones just turned off. Well, let me get those reconnected. Wireless is fun, too. There we go. I'm back. Thank you, Big Joe. Turtle Shell, yeah. If double check with Shaggy on that one. Wait, you already did this. You really want to do this again? I don't think so. All right, and qualifying is about to be underway, so let me transition screens yet again. And we will get going. So what we saw yesterday, it is wet to start with. And it's a matter of how brave these drivers are, whether they start on the softs or if they choose to start on the intermediates. And it's looking like most drivers are opting for the inters. Papa is on the intermediates. Enigma also on the intermediates. Plankton coming out on inters. Shadow Chef also on inters. Ecstasy on inters. Now there is a bit of a strategy of hanging out in the pits and letting these intermediate drivers dry up some of that rain. Clear up the track, and I think that's what we're seeing Salamander and Old Man Pip do, is making sure that the track gets dried out a little bit, as Turbo Speedburner is on the intermediates, Old Man Pip on the inters, and now Salamander being brave coming out on the softs. He does have that pit lane penalty, but that's okay because he'll serve that before he gets his starting lap going. And it looks like Skellington on the intermediates and Evolved and Cornbread looking to be on the softs. Go back up here with Enigma in the Lexus. Looking very nice. Easy, the lone Brit out here. So love having him join us. That's very cool that we're getting some international recognition. I guess we could count Canada and Mexico as well, but all part of North/Central America. as Enigma gets a little squirrely, allowing Shadow Chef to get all over the back of him. Again, they just have to get out on this lap, make sure they don't wear their tires out too much, and then they'll have just enough time for one hot lap. I want to go back and see if, yes, Evolved has left the pits in the Genesis on the softs, and you can see how slow he is taking it. Just being extra cautious not to make any mistakes or have any major issues, because we have seen drivers run out of time. During the week in qualifying, they waited a little bit too long and didn't get across the line in time to have enough time to get all the way back around. Because we are looking at and there we see a spin. You can see just how slippery it is. We'll take a nice little look at that again. Beautiful little pirouette 360. And just gets on the throttle in the wet too soon and does a nice little spin. So that's fun to see. Looks like Cornbread still in the pits, really wanting that track to dry out as Papa leads the way. We all know the McLaren is comfortable in the wet. And yes, Cole, I did notice no TC on the softs. We saw that in split 3 yesterday when the drivers made that transition from wets to slicks or intermediates to slicks, and I feel like traction control is the way to go, but some people are purists and they don't want any part of it. I am not one. I do prefer not to use traction control, but in conditions like this, I definitely think it's a good way to go. Papa's livery looking great on there. I got this. And then it says something backwards. Does it say I got this again? I see my name on there. That looks lovely. Appreciate you, Papa. And Shadow Chef and Enigma. Shadow Chef in the sky livery of the GTR. And then Plankton in this really gorgeous multicolored Ferrari here. Nike got that swoosh. Just do it. Looks very nice. SSC, he's got his Gundam wing McLaren looking good as ever. If you're a fan of anime or Gundam, you're gonna like that one. Old Man Pip in the Renault with the AARP livery. He's not ashamed of his age, as we see it in his name and repping the AARP. It's I'm dreading that day that I get that letter in the mail where it signifies that I am old enough for the AARP. But looking nice. I like how simple that is. And he's got the Viagra on there too. Fantastic. Fantastic. Jack Skellington in the Corvette. Now Team Corvette all did their liveries with Salamander, and everybody's rocking a different color. Jack in the red. I believe we had Dan yesterday in the what color was Dan's? Because Fernando's was gold, and now I can't think of what Dan's was. We have Dan's was blue, wasn't it? And Salamander is in the white. Looking good. He is on the softs, and look, you can already see how dry that track has gotten. There is definitely a dry line now, and that is going to really give him, as well as Evolved, Cornbread, Speed Burner, Shadow Chef, and Enigma, definitely going to have an advantage there as this track continues to dry out. But Enigma showing us how slippery it is. We're going to take a look at that again. Just going through this section now. He's really kind of putting it a little late to be going back out. I think he must have jumped back to the pits real quick to put on the softs instead of being on the inters. It'll be tough. He's got 13 minutes to get around this track twice, which I don't know if that's going to be enough time. Go back up with Salamander, our first soft runner, and continue on with him, seeing how dried out that track is. He will serve that penalty, but that's no big deal, and all the cars ahead are just drying out the track for him. The rain has stopped, so it's just a matter of how much spray these other drivers can do to dry up the track. But we did see that yesterday. Like I said, the last ones across the line had the fastest time, assuming they did not have any incidents, which we've already seen a couple incidents on these outlaps. We'll go back up ahead with Papa, see how he's progressed through the track. He's coming close to ending his first lap. He's got the mini carousel and then onto the straight, and then he will get the party started with Plankton following not too far behind. As Papa takes a little excursion in the grass, but all good. These MR cars definitely have an advantage in the wet. And it looks like they got a bit of a gap to SSC, as SSC just now goes through the mini carousel. Old Man Pip right behind. And we got Jack Skellington a good ways back. And then there's a big gap. I'm nervous that some of these drivers are not going to get a qualifying lap in. But again, we saw that yesterday. Not being in the front at the start of the race can be to your advantage. You have, again, other cars drying up the track for you, and you avoid the chaos. Salamander just easing his way through. He really wants a dry track. He is going to be the first runner on the soft, so you would imagine that the cars behind him might have the opportunity to have a bit quicker lap out there than he does, but it's all about putting that lap together. Cornbread and the screaming Mazda with the mellow yellow. Shout out to Stephen Warhawk Harris, mellow. Cornbread, of course, the CBR guys love having food-related liveries, and I thoroughly enjoy it because I like food. And yes, I consider beverages food. If it goes in, it's gonna be food. And Speedburner rocking the Turbo livery since Turbo could not make it today. It is nice to see Turbo's handiwork out on track by his fellow teammate, Speedburner. And Enigma, you can see just how dry that track is, and Enigma and Shadow Chef are right there. And they are the last ones, but they are really far away, as Papa is now on the start of his flying lap. We'll ride on with him, get an idea of just what it's like out there. Now he is on the enter, so he can abuse the curbs a little bit if he so chooses to, because he's going to have a little bit of grip. So he's even taken time to cool off his tires, and Plankton has definitely given him some space so as not to end up catching the back as he comes onto the Nordschleifer. And we saw several spins here yesterday. It is a tricky corner coming down the hill and getting that party started. The track is already looking very dry, but these drivers do not have to worry about staying on the dry line, whereas those soft runners really are going to have to be very, very careful as to not touch any of the wet, lest they spin right round, baby, right round. Let's check on Salamander, or is it Evolved? Evolved is now the lead driver on the softs in the GP section of the course right now. So far, so good. He is having to be very cautious. It seems like he's going a little slower than he would want, but he has to stay on that dry line, which is not very big, and it just gets more and more narrow as they get on to the Nordschleifer. We'll hop back one position to Salamander, who still has not started his flying lap, so he is leaving it to the last second. There is a 3-minute runoff. After that clock hits 0, they will have 3 minutes to make it to the line. So Salamander calculating, hopefully he has got his maths correct, and is going to have just enough time. So as long as he crosses that start-finish line with 7 minutes to go, he should be safe. But that's assuming he plans on putting in an 8-minute or less time. We saw a very wide variety between the two splits, with the split 1 getting right almost at 8 minutes with Jorge Sr., and then split 4, I believe the fastest time was well into the 8:20s. So it will be interesting to see how split 2, and it looks like he is banking on getting as close to, or I guess he's going to have 10 minutes. Okay, I did my maths wrong. He will have 10 minutes basically, so he will have plenty of time. What about Speedburner? Speedburner the same. Gonna have just enough time. Feeling confident. Where are Cornbread and Shadow Chef? Okay, so Cornbread is on the straight. He's getting close. I'm a little nervous about Shadow Chef and Enigma. We'll have to check back in on them in a little bit. But let's go back up and see how Plankton's doing. Running smoothly. You can see that moisture meter down in the corner. Very low until they get up on the curbs or off the dry line. Running through nice and smooth. Traction control is on. I really do like that. It's kind of a 90s retro Nike, which I guess is back in style because it's that time as everything goes in a circle. I want to hear your predictions, y'all. If you can put in the chat, what's your podium predictions for, or I'm sorry, your qualifying predictions. Who's going to be P1, P2, P3 to start the race, just based on what we've seen so far? I think a lot of people are feeling that Salamander's going to do well. Let's check on Skellington and Team Corvette. Dan Mage has Sal P1. No bias there. No bias at all, right? Team Chevy. All right, Jorge's thinking Sal P1, Jack P2. Okay, because Jack is on the inters, but he is further back. They just want the bias of the Team Chevy to get on. Go back up with Papa making his way, still leading the charge. Looking very smooth. I'm not seeing any glaring mistakes here. As he comes around, approaching the last quarter of this track. This is the really fun part where you try to carry as much speed through these curves as you can while keeping it on the track. And I see Cole Trickle saying Hector P1. That is PHG Speedburner for those who don't know. And also, if you are new and just tuning in and you're curious or want more information about what we're doing, as Plankton has a bit of an issue. Let's see what happened to Plankton here. And it looks like he takes a bit too much curb and just unsettles the car. Smartly just keeps it pointed in the right direction. As we know, that is crucial around here to keep that car going in the right direction. As I was saying, the link to the website is in the chat, pinned in the chat. Click on that link. It'll give you all the information about the Gran Turismo Papa's House of Game World Series. Let's go back and check on our first soft tire runner at the moment, which is Evolved, as he goes through the carousel. Nicely done. Very smooth. That was textbook carousel right there. I like what I see, and that's a sharp looking livery. Black and yellow, as they say. Coming up around, pop back to Salamander. There's a good bit back. And it looks like Papa's going to be crossing the line here shortly, so I'm going to go back up with Papa as they are coming down the straight. And his tires are looking pretty good. We saw a lot of these Inters being a lot more worn out at this point, but the McLaren is solid on the tires. Where can Papa come across the line? So he gets on the power, on the straight, comes across the line with an 828.3. Plankton, with that mistake, not able to capitalize. Ecstasy takes pole, 825.034. Old Man Pip gonna come across the line. Where's Old Man Pip gonna be? Up to P2. Skellington is next. And look at how much more worn out the Corvette tires are than the McLarens. That's going to be huge come the race. And Jack Skellington across the line stays P5. Evolved is our first soft tire runner. I expect quite a bit more time from Evolved. What is going to happen as he now hits the straight? It is a long straight. He is purple by 3.30 seconds. So as long as he doesn't make any mistakes, that's going to be P1 or provisional pole. And you can see those soft tires don't look too bad either on that Genesis. I will say, impressive lap on the intermediates by Ecstasy with that 825.034. But we definitely know Evolve's going to take it. But then we got the rest of those soft runners to try to do something else as he makes it through without touching any of the wets. Where's he going to end up? Pole position for now, for sure. That is for sure at 821.2. Go on with Salamander, see where he's at. So once this clock runs out, which is almost done, they will have 3 minutes to get to the line, which again makes me nervous for those guys all the way in the back. Sal is looking smooth. I can't wait to see a sector time to see if he is purple or if he is not quite up there with Evolved. We will see that sector time here shortly as he gets onto the straight. He is looking smooth, calm, cool, and collect as he goes purple by almost 10 seconds. 9.5 seconds ahead of Evolved. Waiting for that track to dry out is definitely key. And if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see that they only have 2 minutes and 20 seconds to finish their laps. I don't know that some of those guys are going to finish. Only time will tell. And he's up 9.49. Lost a little bit of time, but not much. This is exciting. Our fellow broadcaster, commentator, and who does a lot behind the scenes on the production side of this event to make it happen. Very happy to see him up here. And where does he put his car? An 8:11.4. 8:11.4, that is a dominant time right there. Very nicely done, Salamander. But, ooh, and it looks like Speedburner has damage. If you look at the bottom left hand of your screen, you'll see the flashing red on his left rear tire and bumper. That is not good, so he must have had some kind of incident, which is definitely going to hurt his time. See if we can get a sector time coming up here. Coming into the final bit of turns. I always find this part tricky. How does he get through? He's looking smooth, but he's already at 8:36. This is not going to be the time for him. With now only a minute remaining for the rest of these drivers to do it. And yet he knows it. He's going to stay P8 for now. We'll see what Cornbread has to say about it. And Cornbread is absolutely flying in that Mazda. But again, looking at his overall time, he's not going to do it either at 8:30. 8:34, 35. And he's gonna go up to P8 and take that away as Shadow Chef comes across the line. This might be pole. This might be pole with Shadow Chef with an 807.113. Incredible. Incredible. We have one more driver to get across the line. Enigma, is he gonna make it? He's got 14 seconds. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and across the line, Enigma with P3. That was incredible. I cannot believe he made it. Unreal right there. Unreal, y'all. Saving it to the last second. Holy cow. Well done, everybody. As we take a quick look, I'll run through these on pole position. We have Shadow Chef, the S7R racer in the Nissan with an 807.133. Then PHG Salamander in the Corvette with an 811.483. And then the one giving us a heart attack, Enigma in the RCF with an 818.837. Then we have Evolved in the Genesis with a 821.218. PHG Ecstasy in the McLaren with an 825.034. Old Man Pip in the Renault with an 828.337. PHG Papa, the proprietor himself, with in the McLaren with an 828.378. PHG Plankton in the Ferrari with an 829.335. PHG Jack Skellington in the Corvette with an 835.707. Cornbread in the RX Vision Mazda with an 838.687. And then PHG Speed Burner in the Porsche with an 845.475. Holy cow. Holy cow. That was a lot. I hope y'all are enjoying that as much as I have enjoyed that. And now we get 7 laps. Now, let me remind you, the medium tires are required. I'm assuming all the drivers will start on the intermediates, and then it's just a matter of how you manage your fuel. How long do you go on those intermediate tires? We saw Sheldologist pull off the epic P3 yesterday by staying one extra lap and doing the one-stopper, whereas Pyro tried to do the same thing, and it didn't quite work out for him. So it's going to be brave on what they're willing to do, as PHE Mr. Ormonde is now in here. He wasn't in here before, unless we just missed him. And oh wow, thank you so much, Titanium, for the 5 gifted memberships. Welcome to Rainbow Leopard, Arrow, DSG, Joe, Chris Cook, and Augustella. Thank you so much for that. We need Cornbread to enter. Now, did I miss something? I'm confused about Mr. Armand being in here, because he was not in here during the qualifying. I might need some clarification on that one. But maybe I just wasn't paying attention. He's being added to the back. Okay, he missed the qualifying. He's going to start in the back. That makes sense, Jorge. Indeed, T. Thank you so much. What up, Talon? Talon's going for Shadow Team Nissan. I just cannot believe that Enigma made it across the line. That was unbelievable. We're letting them get this sorted as far as the grid order. Shaggy's going to have to do that manually. For those who have hosted lobbies, you know what it's like. It can be a bit of a headache sometimes. Let me make sure I have my water cup, because that qualifying already has me a bit on the raspy side. I was not expecting for such a lively qualifications there. Got to stay hydrated. Well, thank you, Talon. I appreciate it. I'm having fun. It might be, it might get a little slow during the race. This is a long one, but we'll make it happen. There'll be exciting racing going on, so even if I have to take a little vocal break, we'll have good stuff on the track. Dan Mage, welcome to Rainbow Leopard. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Our actual turn names. Well, there's this turn here, and then he's going to come up to the next turn, and then after that, there's another turn. So I'll tell you the turns. There's one. Well, that's more of a kink. And here's another one. And we're coming up to another one. It looks like we're about to get started here. Big shout out to Shaggy Doo. You missed an exciting qualifying, Horn. I tell you what. Enigma across the line with 1 second to spare. But the race is just about to begin. Again, imagine all these drivers will start on the intermediates. Thank you for the gifted membership, Dan. Welcome to Rainbow Leopard Racer 51. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Appreciate all the love, y'all. Again, big thanks to Shaggy, the main organizer behind this World Series that we got going on. Wouldn't be happening without him. A lot of people behind the scenes working hard, trying to make this happen as we get ready to start. And here we go. It is a rolling start. And we will watch what Shadow Chef is going to be seeing in his mirrors on the intermediates with Salamander right behind him. Here we go. Looks like everybody gets off to a clean start into the heavy braking zone. Not to be too late on the brakes, and it looks like Evolve goes a bit deep in the background, but everybody keeps it together. 3 wide back there. Salamander applying the pressure. Oh, but he's falling back now into the clutches of Enigma. Enigma gets a little squirrely. Looks like everybody is still, yes, single file now as we go into the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Keeping the power down. Now we're going to cut the half of the GP circuit so we can get over to the Nordschleife a bit quicker, as Evolved and Enigma are having quite the battle here. We'll ride on board with Enigma as he is trying to hold off Evolved. Evolved not giving him any chance, but now Enigma is able to make a move on Salamander into the right-hand corner, and that is Enigma up into P2, which is allowing Shadow Chef to just pull away. And it looks like we got Ecstasy now playing a game here, trying to get past Evolve. Now Evolve back up ahead of Ecstasy and Salamander and Enigma. Everybody single file. But Ecstasy applying the pressure as now we enter on to the Nordschleifer. Everyone single file. And this is where it gets wild. Old Man Pip applying plenty of pressure to Ecstasy. Just gonna kind of scroll back through the field. And Cornbread applying the pressure on Jack. This is not the place to pass. You gotta have to hope for someone to make some type of mistake as, ooh, Speedburner gets into the back of Cornbread a little bit, but no damage, all good. Go back on board with our leader and see how it's looking from his point of view. As Evolved and Ecstasy now battling it out. Go back on board with Evolved as he applies the pressure to Ecstasy. Exciting start so far. I wasn't expecting so many position changes, but we definitely have got them. As, oh, a little bump from Old Man Pip. And look at this, Old Man Pip, oh, a little tap, a double tap, and they both run wide into the grass. That's going to allow Papa through. And, ooh, they join semi-safely. Let's see where that ends up. That's Evolved in 6th, Plankton in 7th, Old Man Pip in 8th has fallen down. That did cause Evolved to lose a position to Papa. Shadow Chef is still in the lead and looking quite smooth up there. Coming around, it seems like things have settled down a little bit. But, you know, it all pops off at any moment. You never know what you're going to get. As Papa is now right on the bumper of Ecstasy. And Ecstasy putting the pressure on. And it looks like Enigma is now under threat. Or putting Shadow Chef under threat. And Enigma making the pass. Getting past Shadow Chef. Taking the lead of the race. Incredible. See if we can see how he got past here. It just looks like he had a little more speed. He's able to carry it. Respectful driving around the outside. Not an easy thing to do. Well done, Enigma. I'm sure Shadow Chef is not too happy about that. But maybe they can now pull away because it seems like they have a good gap. While Salamander is under pressure from Ecstasy, Papa, and the rest of the field is all right there. Oh my goodness. I did not expect it to be this tight in lap 1. I figured we would have had a bit more of a gap, but if we go all the way back to P12, and it looks like we had an incident here. Let's see what happened between Jack and Speedburner. Can we tell what's going on? He goes up the inside. Oh, and there's contact. There's contact between Jack and Speedburner, but respectful driving. Jack backs out and lets Speedburner go ahead. Hate to see that contact, but still, they are not far off after that little incident. They are not far off, only 8 seconds off the lead. So even though they did have a slight incident, it hasn't really hurt them that much. They are still in this race. We're going to go back on board with our leaders. Enigma, feeling that pressure from Shadow Chef. And look at that spray. It has got to be hard to see. Let's see what it looks like on the Ecstasy's on board here. As he comes in, trying to get on the brakes, just staring at that Chevy in front of him. And you know he wants to get by. You look out the back, he's got a little bit of a gap to Papa, so he's got a little bit of breathing room as they enter in the carousel. This is tricky in the wet. Sal, ooh, they keep it going, and well done to get through that without any sliding. And again, just very, very tight. Very, very tight through here. Check on Old Man Pip, who did have that incident early on. Currently in P9, he's got Plankton behind him and Cornbread up ahead, with Mr. Ormond in 7th. very tight. Very tight indeed. Now the question is, are we going to see 2 laps on the inters or are we going to see 3 laps on the inters? I hope to see some drivers changing it up a little bit, as it looks like Evolved is now under pressure by Mr. Ormond. Everybody on these intermediate tires trying to keep the cars pointed in the right direction, trying not to make contact with any of their fellow competitors, as now Cornbread is putting the pressure on Mr. Ormond. Can Cornbread get the move done? Doesn't look like it. And now Old Man Pip going for a move. No, he has to tuck back in. And Old Man Pip has all kinds of pressure, plankton all over the back of him. Oh my goodness, this is tight. But you can see the track is starting to dry out. We're starting to see a dry line form, which we saw during qualifying. So can we see some drivers being brave? It really just depends. How confident are you that you are not going to get on the wet stuff? Let's go back up and check on Shadow Chef, who has gotten back past Enigma. And also we have Salamander. Oh, as Shadow Chef goes too deep in the mini carousel, but is able to keep it on track and now has 3 cars ready to pounce as we're coming onto the straight for the end of lap 1. As Speedburner brings up the rear. And Salamander is pushing hard. I think he wants that position if he can get it. And Enigma, look at the power of that slipstream. They're bump drafting. They know this is not the place to fight. Oh, Enigma goes a little wide. He touches the grass. He's going for the move. We're getting a perfect view of it right here. But he cannot get by as Shadow Chef holds on under braking and is able to keep Enigma behind him. And they slow way, way up to get back onto the start-finish straight. And now we will have lap 1 completed. That was very tight as Enigma again going for it, pushing hard. He's going to try around the outside. Can he be the last of the late breakers? He gets on the anchors. He has the lead going into the apex, but no, Shadow Chef able to cut it back through, take the lead, and this is going to allow Salamander to get a bit of a run. Oh, but Salamander cannot quite take advantage. That was some brave, bold stuff by all drivers involved. I cannot believe it. I need to take a sip of water. That was a lot. Woo! That was a lap 1 if I've ever seen one. Now Shadow Chef goes a little deep. What's that going to do for Enigma? Again, he's now got the inside line. Shadow Chef trying to hang on around the outside. This will become the inside for this next turn, but Enigma currently in P1. Shadow Chef back into P1 with the inside. Now Salamander trying to take advantage, and he has got pressure from Ecstasy. Ecstasy now on the inside of Salamander. Takes P3 off Salamander's hands. Woo! Woo! Oh, I got one ready, Talon. Don't you worry, bud. When we go to break, as Ecstasy now in P3, things seem to have calmed down a little bit. Let's check back in on some of our drivers further back as Ecstasy gets a half-second penalty as they enter on to the Nordschleifer. Whew, Papa in P7, Cornbread 8, Pip 9. Very nice. Coming around. And it looks like things have calmed down. We'll check on Speedburner in the back, and he unfortunately is on the racing mediums, y'all. He went for the biggest gamble of them all. Can you believe it? He went ahead and put the required tires on, and now he's got to make the fuel last at least. I mean, the tires can do it, but can the fuel do it? He did refill his tank, so let's go Speedburner being bold out there. I love to see it. Let's go back ahead with our leaders now. Shadow Chef with almost a full second lead on Enigma. Ecstasy with that half a second penalty, and he runs a little wide. That is going to allow Salamander to take P3 off of his hands yet again. I've been thinking about going to a replay, but we just haven't had any time in the action to go to a replay. As now Mr. Ormond takes P4 off of Estacy's hands. Papa now gonna take P5. Papa's up, Evolve's up. Oh my goodness, Estacy is just falling down the order. This is terrible to see. Now falling down into P7 as Evolve tries to hang on around the outside. Can he keep it pinned as they go side by side? And there it is. Estacy from P3 to P7. Holy smokes. That is incredible. So now we have Salamander back in P3 with Mr. Ormond in P4, Papa P5, Evolved P6, Estacy 7, and Cornbread in P8. Woo! I tell you what, this has been a very exciting race, and I love to see the sportsmanship here. We've seen a little bit of contact, but those guilty of the contact have done the right thing and allowed the other driver to continue on. And it's been great to see. We've had several position changes for the lead and all the way up and down the field. It is going to be interesting. I'm going to go check in on our only racing tire driver, who's currently 32 seconds behind on the racing mediums. And that's not very far when you lose as much time as you lose in the pits here. Ooh, as he touches the wet stuff, but keeps it going. So we'll be checking back in on him occasionally. But so far, so good. Now we got Plankton, the last of the intermediate runners. And, I mean, being only 11 seconds off the lead, this field is tight. This field is tight like a tiger. Tell you what. Old Man Pip looking good. Trying to catch up to Cornbread. He is in the Renault, the RS1 or whatever it's called. Seems to be a good car around here. As now, are we seeing Plankton making a move on Skellington? I hit the wrong button. There we go. Plankton and Skellington trying to going side by side, wheel to wheel. They can't quite get a move done, and going side by side like that is just slowing them down. And it looks like Plankton does the smart thing, backs out of it. And yeah, those intermediate tires are getting worn out for sure. All right, it seems like things have calmed down for them for now. Cornbread, though, does look like he has Old Man Pip not too far behind. As Old Man Pip goes too deep into the wall. Oh, that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt if I can hit the right buttons. Let's see if we can see that again. As Old Man Pip, oh, he's just all over the back of Cornbread. He gets those tires dirty, and now he's hopeless on the brakes. Nothing he can do. Into the barrier. That allows Jack Skellington through and Plankton through. And, oh, you hate to see it from Old Man Pip, but that is the dangers out here. And now he is 19 seconds ahead of Speedburner. Shadow Chef still in P1. Enigma still in P2. Salamander still in P3. And Mr. Ormond P4. Papa P5. Looks like everybody's got a bit of breathing room, except for Papa, who now has evolved all over the back of him, as Estacy still has that half a second penalty that he will serve at the end of this lap. Let's see if Evolved here can make anything happen as he applies the pressure to Papa. This split 2 is producing some excellent racing, as Papa is all over the curves trying to carry as much speed as possible, but Evolved is being relentless here, not giving Papa a chance to breathe at all, but there's nowhere to get by. Luckily they're both on the intermediate, so the wet line is actually to their benefit, and he is just, oh my goodness, the slipstream is definitely coming into effect here as they come into this long right-hander into a braking zone for the left. And Papa has a little bit of breathing room as they go into the mini carousel. And can Papa survive the straight, having Evolved in his mirrors like that as he runs a little wide, and that is going to open the door for Evolved to get through. And it looks like it's going to open up the door for SSC as well. But SSC does have the penalty. Is that going to hurt him more, or is he going to be able to continue to carry speed and stay in the slipstream? He's close enough. How does that slipstream pay out as Papa is well in Evolved's slipstream and is pulling away, but it doesn't seem to be damaging SSC all that much. He's still within a second, but this is a very long straight here, and I imagine we're going to see some drivers diving into the pits. As I hear Talon saying, box, 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 as Shadow Chef, Enigma, and does Salamander stay out? No, Salamander in the pits, Ormond in the pits, Evolved in the pits, Papa in the pits, Ecstasy in the pits, Cornbread in the pits, Plankton in the pits, Skellington in the pits, Pip in the pits, and you know who's going to look maybe like a genius? That's going to be our boy Hector here. If he comes out in first, that's going to... No, Shadow Chef is out of the pits. Enigma is out of the pits. Speedburner up to P4 from last to... No, yes. From last to P4. Wow. Unbelievable, as we have a yellow flag, and that's Enigma. What happened to Enigma as he comes out of the pits? That is the wrong driver. And yep, he just gets on the wet, tries to get on the power, and that is not going to work. Where does that put Enigma? Down to P4. That puts Speedburner up into P2. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a shakeup. What a shakeup. As all the drivers now, I'm going to pan through here. We got Shadow Chef on the mediums. Speedburner on the mediums. Salamander on the mediums. Enigma medium. Cornbread medium. Ecstasy on the softs. Ecstasy is going to have to pit again. Careful, y'all. It is still wet off the racing line. Making me nervous here. Evolved with a pit lane penalty on the mediums. That 3 second is brutal. That's going to cost him probably 2 positions. No, probably 3 positions if these drivers back here can keep it together. But no, Mr. Ormond also with a 3 second penalty on the mediums. Plankton mediums and Oldman Pip mediums. Incredible. Incredible. Enigma's going to be keen to get some positions back here. Whew. I'm not driving, but I'm sweating, I tell you what. As Ecstasy is applying the pressure on Cornbread. Ecstasy on the quicker tire compound. Really putting that pressure on Cornbread. Can he get a move done into one of these turns? As Cornbread gets a little squirrely. Coming up here, it's going to be hard to get through because he can't go off the racing line. If he goes off the racing line, he's just going to spin. So you got to hope that Cornbread makes a mistake with the pressure having Ecstasy in his mirrors like that. Trying to scroll back through. It looks like we've got it spread out. Papa now into P10. Applying the pressure to Mr. Ormond, which he should get by, whether it's on an overtake on track or with Old Man or Mr. Ormond serving the penalty as he almost goes into the back of him. It is tricky picking your braking zones. You've been so used to driving on the intermediate tires in the wet that now all your braking points are in a completely different spot. And Mr. Ormond applying the pressure. He would love to clear Skellington if he can, just to help cushion him a little bit when he has to serve the penalty. And Plankton is not far behind either. as Plankton goes off just a little bit, touches the wet stuff. That is allowing Mr. Ormond a little bit on Skellington as he has a slight error, but not able to get by. And luckily, Plankton able to keep it pointed in the right direction as we come into this fast left-hander. Ooh, that made me nervous, Skellington getting on the curb like that, but he's able to keep it going. Oh, as Mr. Ormond does get a better drive out of the turn. These Porsches with the mid-engine definitely a little bit easier, and it looks like Evolved may have had an issue. Let's see if we can't see what happened here. Is he having off? Because he's up ahead all by himself, and yes, he goes too deep, unfortunately, and oh, luckily keeps it facing the right direction, and that allows everyone else to catch up, adding insult to injury with that 3-second penalty, and he's got a gaggle behind him. 4 cars, one with the same penalty that he has, but Mr. Ormond able to get ahead of Jack Skellington. Papa trying to fend off Plankton. Plankton has been putting the pressure on Papa since they got out of the pits. Can Mr. Orban do anything here to get on Evolved? I do want to go check on our leaders, but I want them to spread out a little bit before I go away, because this pack right here, this battle for P7 has been very, very tight. But now it looks like they've spread out a little bit. We'll go on board with our leader, Shadow Chef, who's got a huge gap on Enigma. That is 11 seconds. It does look like Enigma able to get back past Speedburner as Speedburner gets touched. Oh my goodness. Bye, Salamander. Let's take a look and see what happened there. Salamander applying the pressure to Speedburner. Nowhere to go. It looks like a bit of netcode. And they're both on the brakes, and unfortunately that gets Speedburner spun around. You hate to see it. You probably need a proper replay from both of their views to really have a good idea, but that puts Speedburner down into P6. And that's going to hurt him quite a bit, but he does have Ecstasy and Cornbread in his sights. He's almost down to half a tank of fuel. So he's going to have to pit again for fuel, I would imagine. And they got a nice big gap from Evolve. So Shadow Chef running away with it. Salamander trying to catch up to Enigma. We got Speedburner trying to recover from that incident with Salamander. Putting the pressure on Ecstasy. Ecstasy has a little bit of an off there, but able to keep the car pointed in the right direction. And relentless Speedburner going last, second, third, sixth. He's been everywhere. Oh, as he runs wide. Oh, he's able to keep it pointed in the right direction. And that allows Ecstasy a little bit of breathing room as Cornbread goes off. And we'll take a look at that. What happened to Cornbread? Did he just carry too much speed? Oh, he gets on the curb. Oh, gets on the curb, and that allows them through. Did that allow Speedburner through as well? No, Speedburner is now on the back of Cornbread, but Ecstasy able to get through, providing plenty of action. Cornbread does have some damage there. That's going to hinder him a little bit, especially in the turns. Luckily, there's not much going on in the way of turns at the moment until that damage is able to get taken care of, as I am joined in the booth by Pyro. Hello, sir. How are you? Uh-huh. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Oh, so hold on. Say that again, Pyro. I had you muted. My apologies. Say what you said again.
I'm sorry. Yes, I checked Salamander's stream to see what happened with the incident, and Skellington, I believe, was ghosted when Sal's car went through him, and then he unghosted.
Like in the middle of it, right? It looked weird. It looked weird.
Because if you rewatch it, later on, you can see like Sal's car was inside of
I believe it was Speedburner.
Yeah.
And yeah, that makes sense because we did watch the replay and it did look awkward. And Salamander isn't the type of driver who just punts somebody and keeps going. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely not.
would sum that up to Netcode. Thank you for dropping in and giving us that tidbit of information, Pyro. That is great. Great
Not a
info
problem.
for us.
If there's anything else I see, I'll stop by as well.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Well, thanks for tuning in while you're out and about. Love to see how many people are watching, and not everybody's able to sit at home, but we appreciate you, Pyro, and of course, you're always welcome in here.
Thank you.
And thank you for letting me know I had him muted, y'all. It would have been like yesterday when I was just sitting there, sitting there talking to myself for a while. And it looks like things have spread out quite a bit. Speedburner is up into P4. Yeah, and you can see Speedburner seems to be lagging kind of all over the place a little bit there. So we got a little connectivity issues. But that track is definitely drying up. As the field is spread out, except for, again, the battle for P7 is proven to be quite the battle, as Papa has 3 cars just eager to get through. Hopefully he can... as Evolve sends it up the inside. That was a beautiful move there. I wouldn't mind watching that again. Or Mr. Ormond goes through as well. We'll take a look here at Evolve going through. Just laid on the brakes into the chicane. Very nicely done. And it looks like Plankton is able to take the position back from Mr. Ormond. Papa trying to pull away. Indeed, Titanium. Run, Papa, run. You got cars breathing down your neck. As we go in. Ooh, and Plankton now all over the back of Evolved. Can he make something happen? We'll go back to our more cinematic view here so we can see all the cars going in a row, keeping us entertained. Looking very, very nice here. The track is definitely dry. How are we doing on fuel? I'm going to go through starting with P1. Plenty of fuel there for Shadow Chef in P1 on the mediums. Enigma, pretty good on fuel. Salamander, about the same. Now these drivers on the softs are going to have to pit for medium. So Ecstasy, while he has plenty of fuel, is going to have to pit one more time. Speedburner on the mediums, and he's definitely going to have to pit for fuel. I imagine when he comes in, he'll slap some softs on. Cornbread must not have taken fuel when he pitted for the medium, so he's definitely going to have to pit, I would think, at the end of this lap for fuel. Papa looking pretty good on fuel. Mr. Ormond. Plankton also about the same. We'll go look on board with Old Man Pip on the mediums, and then Jack Skellington on the mediums as well. So variety, only one person on the softs, knowing they're going to have to pit again. We'll go back with Papa as... Oh my goodness. What just happened? What just happened with Papa? That's not... There we go. Coming down here to the fast left-hander. Oh, and he just runs wide. Oh my goodness. And can't get it slowed down. Into the barrier. That's damage. And that's 3 positions lost. Oh, you hate to see it. Can he catch back up with that pack? As now Evolve leads the train. The battle for 7 is not disappointing at all. They're just relentless here. It's got to be stressful having that many cars around you at all times. You don't get a moment to breathe, as everyone else is kind of spread out and able to relax a little bit. As Mr. Ormond making the move. Can he make the move stick as he goes around the outside? They're leaving each other space. Very respectable, but Evolved has the inside, and this is where you got to be brave. Then this little kink here, and then they're going to be in the heavy braking once they get through up the hill. Evolved able to stay on it, but now Mr. Ormond is in the slipstream. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And where is... Oh, Plankton has slowed down a little bit as they continue to battle. Coming up, he's going to have to stick it around the outside. No, he can't do it. He thinks better. Backs out. Coming in here on the brakes into the right-hander. We're coming up to the carousel. And this is where we've seen some drivers make some mistakes. If you end up running out wide, that's going to allow Mr. Ormonde to get through. And Evolved does it perfectly. Well done. A little wiggle for Mr. Ormond, allowing Plankton to get back up through. And we can see Papa back there trying to catch back up with these other drivers. Right, we got a little bit of breathing room now. I'm sure Evolved is appreciating that. Whew. Whew. This is a lot, y'all. We're only on lap 4 of 7. And it has been exciting, but it does look like Shadow Chef has completely run away. He's now 16 seconds ahead as he's already at the mini carousel, pushing it through. Enigma almost 5 seconds ahead of Salamander, just kind of running his own race. Salamander's well between Enigma and Ecstasy, not looking like any pressure is going to be put on him. And Ecstasy with a good gap to PHG Speedburner as he enters into the mini carousel. And Cornbread has now caught up to Speedburner. We now have a battle on our hands for P5. What's going to happen here as Cornbread in that screaming RX-7? Well, what's going to happen is Speedburner's going to run off the track. That's going to allow Cornbread through, but Cornbread is going to have to pit. Cornbread is going to have to pit for fuel. Let's ride on here with Speedburner, see what happens. A little bit too much apex. He washes out. Luckily keeps it pointed in the right direction. Gets out of the way of Cornbread. And unbelievable. Well done, but he's going to get that position back as he has a quarter of a tank. And Cornbread's fuel tank is flashing. So that's going to allow a few drivers to get through. Woo! Unbelievable. It is so hard around here. To do 7 laps with this many corners to get through without making any mistakes is no easy feat. So it makes sense that a lot of these drivers are making some mistakes as we predicted. Cornbread and Speedburner go into the pits. What's Evolve going to do? Is Evolve going to stay out? Evolve's going to stay out, and that's going to allow him to take P5 off of Cornbread and Speedburner. That also allows Mr. Ormond through, Plankton as well. Where is Papa? Papa goes into the pits. So we got Evolved in P5, Mr. Ormond in P6, and Plankton P7 as Old Man Pip comes through. Is he going to come out ahead of... Yes, and Skellington comes through, but it looks like Speedburner comes out. Cornbread having to take more fuel than Speedburner has allowed Speedburner to jump him in the pits and allow Skellington through as well, having to refuel all that fuel. But now Skellington all over the back of Speedburner. And Papa now coming out of the pits in P12. So we have a battle for 9th. Old Man Pip kind of in no man's land, and the battle for 5th has calmed down a little bit, but still within a second. Mr. Ormonde not letting Evolved breathe 1 second. As they go through the chicane and begin the 5th time onto the Nordschleifer. Incredible. A little wiggle, 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 wiggle. Yeah, but he's okay. But again, Ormond just keeping the pressure on. Go back to Speedburner in 9th. Jack in 10th, and now Jack is under pressure from Cornbread. Cornbread is on the softs. Quicker tire, full tank of gas. He is gonna come through. Ooh, so much pressure. Applying it now, and not looking like he's gonna be able to get by here. Speedburner pulling away from the two, but can Mr. Ormond, or I'm sorry, Cornbread, apply the pressure and force Jack Skellington to make a mistake. Jack on the medium, slightly worn, less fuel, so his Corvette is going to be lighter. But, Cornbread just can't get through as he goes, and no, not looking like it's going to happen from Cornbread at the moment, as Jack now is starting to pull away ever so slightly from Skellington. Very good stuff. All right, we're going to go back up to see what's happening for that battle for 5th. Evolved still able to maintain a gap of 0.6 on Mr. Ormond. Very impressive. Very impressive. SSC NP4, nothing to see here. Salamander NP3, nothing to see. Enigma P2, and again with that commanding lead. Shadow Chef with a fastest lap of 8 minutes, 0.212. That is an incredible race lap on the mediums. S7R, he is representing, making that team look really good as we go back to that battle we had there in the rear of Cornbread and Plankton, giving us action all the way through. But can Cornbread get through? He's just not able to find a way by Skellington. It has to be frustrating to just be all over the back, knowing you are on the faster tire and the newer tire. But unfortunately, the mellow yellow Mazda just can't get by. But good, clean racing. I'm not seeing any push to pass, which is always good to see. As there we go, Cornbread making his move, and he gets through. Can he make it stick? And it looks like he does make it stick. Let's watch that again. On board here with Cornbread, just biding his time, being patient, waiting, hoping for an opportunity as Jack gets a little too much apex curb, washes out wide, has to lift. That allows him through, late on the brakes, gets it stopped, gets it turned. What an amazing overtake there, and now he's in clean air, and I think he's going to, he's going to start pulling. Next on his list is Speedburner, who overtook him in the pits. But he is a good 5 seconds off Speedburner, so now we'll go back up here. It looks like the battle for 5th has calmed down a little bit as Evolved has pulled away, and no sign of Plankton in the back. How close is Old Man Pip to Plankton? Not close at all. Not close at all. So no major battles on track at the moment as drivers are now focusing on, can they get their fuel to last? I don't think Salamander's going to be able to get that fuel tank all the way around another time. We're going to see him come into the pits, I imagine, for some softs and also as much fuel as is needed. SSC looking a little bit better on fuel, but man, those softs are screaming. SSC's going to have to pit. He will take some fuel and put on the mediums because don't forget, y'all, the mediums are required. And then we got Evolved now pulling away from Mr. Ormond, but is going to have to pit again for fuel. As will Mr. Ormond, as will Plankton, as will Old Man Pip. Speedburner, however, again, doing a completely different strategy from everybody else, will most likely be able to make it to the end without pitting again. So we should see him leapfrog a few people when they go into the pits to get their tires. as Cornbread now has shown how quick those softs are and pulled a 4-second gap on Skellington. However, can those softs make it to the end of lap 7? That is going to be tough. I don't know that the Mazda is that great on the old tires there. And we got Skellington now. Good gap from Papa. Not really under any pressure, but again, Skellington gonna have to pit for fuel. Papa on the softs, I don't think he's going to have to. As we see, Shadow Chef is now in the pits. Where's Enigma gonna be? Enigma gonna come into the pits as well. I imagine coming in for softs. I would think Shadow Chef and Enigma do the softs. Where's Jack gonna be? I mean, Jack Salamander. Salamander desperately needs fuel. So he's going to have a longer pit stop just because of the need of fuel. And then we got Estasy, who's going to need to put on the mediums and get fuel as well. Shadow Chef is able to maintain his lead as we now have Evolved coming up. Evolved is going to need to pit and I imagine put softs on. Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle, but he's coming into the pit, so that's okay. Mr. Ormond now coming through. He is also going to hop in the pits. Plankton with the pressure from Speedburner, who we know does not need to pit. Where is Speedburner going to come out in relation to everybody else? As we also see Old Man Pip in the background. So we got Plankton pitting. We have Speedburner staying out. Where is Speedburner going to come out in relation to the others? Back up into P5. Is he going to clear Evolved? He does clear Evolved. Well done. Cornbread now out of the pits in P6 with Evolved just ahead. And it looks like we're going to have a battle on our hands as Cornbread did not need to pit, was able to leapfrog a few people. And now he's got Evolved in his sights and is ready to go hunting. On those racing softs, he is going to have to make those last 2 laps. But he's got plenty of fuel as Evolved runs a little bit deep. Feeling the pressure on those cold softs, trying to get them warmed up. Because Cornbreads are already nice and warm. You like to see it? I'm going to kind of scroll through here and see if we have anybody else close to each other. Looks like everybody's spread out at this point. Except for the battle for 6. This has been a great battle all the way through. You love to see it. And you can see there Mr. Ormond in the background, but now it seems like Evolved has got his tires warmed up and is pulling away a little bit from Cornbread. Speedburner well up the road, almost 6 seconds as they get onto the Nordschleifer. And you can hear the scream of the Mazda in the background. You always know when that Mazda's close to you because it sounds like a banshee screaming at you. And Mr. Ormond smoothly making his way through behind all on racing soft tires. So they will be taking those to the end. Papa on the worn softs. I don't think Papa had to pit again either, so that allowed Papa up ahead of Plankton and Old Man Pip into P9 to get him well within the top 10 and not much pressure behind. Plankton on the softs. Old Man Pip off the softs and Skellington also on the softs. So we'll go back to our lovely battle there for P6, which is now spread out quite a bit. We only have a lap and about a half to go. Everybody should be good on fuel unless we have a major incident and they end up just wearing out their tires or burning through their fuel quicker than they thought. We did see several drivers yesterday run out of fuel. So it is possible if you don't quite put enough, as Cornbread, puts his, just touches a toe to the gravel there, slowing him down a little bit. And that is going to allow Mr. Ormond to catch up to him now, pulling him in within a second. As we ride on board here. Get that nice hood cam Here as he pulls him into the heavy braking zone, late on the brakes, allowing him to get much, much closer as Cornbread makes a mistake. Now they're drag racing wheel to wheel. He gets the move done. I want to see that again. Let's see here what happens to Cornbread. He just gets a little too much, and that allows Mr. Ormond through. Nothing he could do to defend. And now, again, the battle for P7 is proving to be a great one. Coming through here. Snaking through. He's definitely going to feel the dirty air and the dirty tires. His tires are definitely more worn because he is on his second lap of those softs, whereas the other drivers around him, except for Papa, are on their out lap on the soft. So that has allowed them through. We'll go check in on our race leader, Shadow Chef, who has pulled an impressive 23 seconds, making it look easy, y'all. Making it look easy in the beautiful sky livery. Into the carousel. Flawless. Love to see it. P2, we do have Enigma pushing that Lexus, giving it all he's got, trying to catch up, but he just isn't able to. But he does have a nice gap to Salamander, who can't be seen in the rear. Salamander with a 17, almost 18-second gap on Ecstasy. Looking smooth, looking like he has that P3 locked in. Ecstasy on the mediums, on a slower tire here. He is going to have to deal with Speedburner here in the near future. Speedburner opted to do the mediums instead of the softs. Interesting. So Speedburner on the same tire. About 5 seconds behind and 5 seconds ahead of the two drivers around him. So we'll see if Evolved on those fresh softs can catch up to Speedburner by the end of the remaining lap and a quarter about. Trying to make something happen. Is Cornbread able to make his way up to Mr. Ormond after that? No, Cornbread with a 2.8 second gap to Mr. Ormond. He can see him, but he can't quite catch him, and you can already see those front tires are not looking great. That is definitely going to be a painful final lap in this Mazda, trying to get grip on the front wheels and trying not to understeer. See how Papa's doing in the McLaren. About the same when it comes to tire wear. Papa pushing it up to P9. It has been a roller coaster of a race for several of these drivers. Amazing to see. We haven't had nearly as many incidents as you would expect around here. A lot of them being self-inflicted. But most drivers able to keep it going in the right direction. And we'll get off Papa before we curse him with my commentating. And take a look at Plankton, who is trying to catch Papa. He can see him up ahead, but unfortunately just isn't quite able to reel him in. But he does have fresher softs. So I would imagine that on this final lap coming up, he might be able to reel Papa in that battle for P9. Old Man Pip, 5 seconds off of Plankton, but a good 13 seconds ahead of Jack, and his tires are looking just fine. We'll go back up to P5 with Evolved, who has now put a 4-second gap on Mr. Ormond, which is quite impressive, showing off what those softs can do. Fresh softs on a dry track can be very, very quick around here as he comes across, and it's unbelievable that Mr. Shadow Chef is already on his final lap. 23 seconds ahead of Enigma. Shadow Chef again just making it look easy out there, effortless. This is split 2. This is a very competitive split, and he is showing his dominance right now as he goes purple. That is going to put him, if he can keep it purple, in a sub 8-minute lap. I guess he will have a lighter car and on soft tires, so I imagine that delta to continue to go up and him, or come down, and him put in maybe into the, already a second up on his fastest lap. So he's going to get well into those 750s and look really good doing it. If we look at Enigma now, racing softs are looking good. Enigma's fastest lap in 8:02.6. That would have been on the medium, so we imagine on these softs Enigma as well will improve, as he has now gone purple by 1.34 seconds. Salamander's fastest lap was an 8:06.276. Again, he is on the softs, and he is now 0.665 up on the fastest lap time overall, so that's going to put him in the 759s. S2C, whose fastest lap is an 8:06.9, is on the racing medium, so I wonder if he's going to be improving his time at all, or if he's going to be kind of just keeping it in the clear, keeping it out of the gravel. No, he does improve on the overall fastest lap as well. Evolve now with Mr. Ormond starting to catch back up to him. Impressive to see. He has lost a second now to Mr. Ormond, as we see him in the background trying to pull through. But they are well clear of Cornbread, going through the chicane and about to enter onto the Nordschleifer. Cornbread with, oh, here we go, y'all. Back at it again on the final lap. We're in for a treat. We got Speedburner putting the pressure all over the back as they come down the hill into these braking zones. We'll change our camera angle here as to not miss any of the action. Where is he going to find an opportunity to get through? This is not an easy place to overtake, as it looks like a tiny little nudge, but no harm. Allows Cornbread to get ahead a little bit more. Ooh, as he almost loses it there, getting on the power. Desperate to keep up with Cornbread, but the dirty air does affect the grip in these cars, so following through these corners this close does make it a little bit on the challenging side, as he is not improving his time, pushing as hard as he dare. I believe Speedburner has definitely had the most ups and downs of anybody in this race so far, as he has been up in front and he has been all the way in the back, taking a much different strategy approach. Clearly had thought it all through. Had he not had a few of those incidents, I think he would be much further ahead. Now applying the pressure, pushing hard, just making himself very present. Backing off a little bit. That's what I was trying to do. Couldn't remember what key it was. Just so you can see how close Speedburner is getting to the rear bumper of Cornbread. This is a lot of pressure. That's all he can see is this bright orange turbo livery, PHG 18 livery, just in his face. Not giving up an inch, and those softs are looking worn. Speedburner is on the mediums, and they have a lot more grip. As look at that, almost touching. Almost touching. This is incredible. Is Speedburner able to get by? Is there any hope at all? He's looking for that opportunity. Coming into a heavy braking zone, is able to get the car slowed down. That is where we saw Cornbread get an overtake earlier, but Speedburner not able to do anything. We got another opportunity right here. Will he be brave on the brakes? No, he backs out, but Cornbread goes a little deep. That is allowing Speedburner, oh, he wants to try it around the outside. There's just not enough space. Goes for the switchback. He gets a better exit. There's no room. He's going for it. He's going for it. Can he make it through? They're side by side, wheel to wheel. He's on the outside, but the outside's about to turn into the inside. Oh, and Cornbread, late on the brakes, is able to get it done round the outside. Unbelievable, as we get a little bit of a shaky exit there. Let's take a look at this on board with Cornbread. He is brave on those brakes. Lets it happen. Speedburner has to back out. And then Speedburner runs off into the grass, and now he's going to have to try to fight yet again. Had to go for it. Good on Cornbread. That was an excellent defense. And now Speedburner is a speck in the background. We'll go back up with Evolved, see how he's doing, gaining on SSC. He's got 2.7 seconds between him and SSC. And look at that, Mr. Ormond in the back. I'm sure he is tired of seeing that Gulf liveried Porsche in and around him this entire race. As I think Shadow Chef is about to enter on to the final straight. Gonna dominate this race. I don't know that anybody else is going to be able to make any moves happen. Big gap there. Plankton trying to catch up to Papa. Big gap between Papa and Speedburner. Speedburner catching back up to Cornbread. Now just over a second as they come through here. We're going to stay on board here, but then I'm going to have to switch to Shadow Chef as, Speedburner goes too deep. And all hopes are, can he keep it together? Oh my goodness, that was so close. All right, we're going to switch on board with our race leader. We got a half a second penalty. I do want to see where Evolved is. Evolved applying the pressure within a second. He might be able to make something happen in the final laps. We will see as fuel is starting to run low. I'm going to go back on board here with the race leader, making it look easy. That is laps led, that is pole position, that is fastest lap of a 7:54.438, and that is a victory for Shadow Chef. Well done, as we see Enigma coming up. Quite the gap there. Enigma is going to cross the line in P2. Can he take fastest lap away as he is almost out of fuel? Gets a little squirrely. And across the line. No, but he is able to improve his time. Salamander now. Maybe Salamander can take away the fastest lap. No, he cannot. But that is P3. That is our podium, y'all, from Salamander. Now Evolved with SSC. Evolved is able to get by SSC. Can SSC get back by Evolved in the slipstream as they come up into the braking zone? SSC goes for it. He goes into the grass. There's not much room. They're going to go side by side. No. Evolved is able to stay ahead late on the brakes. Is he going to get through? No, SSC doing everything he can, but it's just not enough. I want to see that again. Are we going to be able to see it? As SSC, here he is, desperate to try, can't get through, and that he lets Evolved through. Unbelievable. As Mr. Ormond comes through, Cornbread about to come through in P7. Solid race. Speedburner coming across. Shadow Chef still able to keep that fastest lap. Papa in P9. Plankton P10. Old Man Pip P11. And that leaves us with our good friend Jack Skellington bringing up the rear in a beautifully liveried Corvette with no fuel, just a sniff of fuel left there, just enough to get him across the line. Holy cow. Oh my goodness. Wow. Unbelievable. I mean, that was pole position, fastest lap, and the victory for our S7R Sector 7 Racing Shadow Chef. Take a look at these standings here. Oh my gosh. So we have Shadow Chef with the fastest lap, MP1, followed by Enigma, MP2. PHG Salamander rounds out the podium, MP3. Then we have Evolved, P4, PHG SSC, P5, PHG Mr. Ormond, and P6. Cornbread in P7. PHG Speedburner. What a roller coaster of a race from Speedburner in P8. PHG Papa in P9, PHG Plankton P10, Old Man Pip 11th, and PHG Skellington in P12. Woo! Lordy. That was something else. My thoughts. That was a lot. That was a lot. GG's to all the drivers. Congrats to Shadow Chef. That was unbelievable. I need to take a break, y'all. I need to take a break. I'm going to step away for a second, and then don't go nowhere, because we do have another race for you coming right up. I'll be right back.
Wheels burn on the track. PHG is where it's at. Roads long and winding, but our team's always grinding. Underneath the starry sky, engines roar, we fly. Sweat beading on our brow. Teamwork's the key right now. We win together, rain or shine. PSG forever, crossing the line. Gasoline and fire, chasing every desire. Around the curves we go. Teamwork keeps our flow. Every gear we shift feels like a gift. Speeding down the lane, victories in our name. We win together, rain or shine. PSG forever, crossing the line. Gasoline and fire, chasing every desire. Around the curves we go. Teamwork keeps our flow. Every gear we shift feels like a gift. Speeding down the lane, victory's in our name. We win together, rain or shine. PSG forever, crossing the line. Wheels burn on the track. PHG is where it's at. Roads long and winding, but our team's always grinding. Underneath the starry sky, engines roar, we fly. Sweat beading on our brow. Teamwork's the key right now. We win together, rain or shine. PSG forever, crossing the line. Gasoline and feels like a gift, speeding down the lane. Victor's in our name. We win together, rain or shine. PHG forever, crossing the line. Wheels burn on the track. PHG is where it's at. Roads long and winding, but our team's always grinding. Underneath the starry sky, engines roar, we fly. Sweat beading on our brow. Teamwork's the key right now. We win together, rain or shine. PSG forever, crossing the line. Gasoline and fire, chasing every desire. Around the curves we go. Teamwork keeps our flow. Every gear we shift feels like a gift, speeding down the lane. Victory's in our name. We win together, rain or shine. PSG forever, crossing the line. Gasoline and fire, chasing every desire. Around the curves we go. Teamwork keeps our flow. Every gear we shift feels like.
And welcome back, everybody. We had a very exciting race one. I also want to say big thank you to Wicco for the 5 gifted. Welcome to Rainbow Leopard, Root, Shaggy Doo, Jack Skellington, Daniel Gonzalez. Hey, I know that guy. I work with him. Turtle Shell. Thank you so much, Wicco. Yes, working extra hard this holiday weekend, but I am no longer alone. I am joined in the booth by our good friend and P3 racer of Split 2, Salamander. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm a little sweaty.
Yeah.
That was a stressful race, but ooh, that was a fun one. I'm glad that went as well as it did. I'm really happy with how that ended up.
It was a great one, and when there wasn't battles kind of up front, we had battles in P5, P7, P10. There was something going on the entire time, and it was tough to do it by myself. So I am so grateful to have you here with me to help me out, as I can already feel my voice starting to give way, because it was just too exciting. Like, that split offered everything. Tell us about your strategy and if you had to change anything at all.
No, I mean, everything pretty much went according to plan and how I thought it. You know, I always go into these with I got my plan, and then it's a matter of don't make a mistake. You know, I mean, especially at the Nurburgring. So the fact that I didn't make a mistake, qualifying went pretty much how I thought it was going to. I'm actually surprised I qualified in P2. I thought I was going to be at least P3. But doing the whole hang back and run the softs and qualifying, that was my plan all along.
Okay.
And then the 2 laps on intermediates, 3 on mediums, and 2 on softs. That's exactly how I wanted it to do, so I didn't have to modify it at all. It's always great when you've got your game plan and it actually works, you know. And then, like I said, I know that Shadow Chef and Enigma both dropped down from top split, so I fully expected that they were going to pace the field, and they did.
Absolutely.
And I'm just glad that I was able to, again, keep it clean, stay ahead of the rest of the pack. I had a good, clean race. I mean, the first few laps we had some battles. But it was all clean. I mean, I was really happy with how that went, both in how I was racing Enigma, how Ecstasy raced around me. It was all really good all the way around. So, I don't know how things were going on in the back there. I quickly got, onto an island where I was behind Enigma and just couldn't catch them, and ahead of Ecstasy, and kept pulling away. So I kind of just did quali laps for about half the race.
Yeah. It looked smooth. You could just kind of had free air behind and free air ahead, and you made it look easy, to be honest. And we were paying attention to that qualifying strategy of hanging back, and you weren't the only one. We had, was it Enigma, who barely got across in time? He literally had 1 second to get across the line. I mean, all the way at the end. That's how the whole race was. It was on the edge of your seat the whole time, because
those are the best races.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I hope we have a split 4 race here. I'm going to go ahead and show everybody the split 4 drivers. Do you mind reading through this, Sal?
Sure. Yeah, so for split 4 here, qualifying in P1, we got PHG Strychnine in the Nissan. Looks like he's down from a provisional standing. McBuglefingers in the Ford also drops down as a provisional driver. PHG Aero was the top qualifier for the split in the Genesis. Speed Bump in P4 in the Honda. Craig in P5 in the Porsche. PHG C-Dubs P6 in the Genesis. Real Shanman in the Toyota P7. T. Calvert in P8 in the BMW. Tangy in P9 in the AMG. Then in P10, we got PHG Caper in the Volkswagen. P11, we got Wicked Spoke in I don't know what manufacturer. And P12, we got PHG Rick Shear, who I noticed is driving a Corvette. So go Team Corvette.
Very nice. And something I forgot to do before we started the first race was to take a look at the joining us now. We are at the Nurburgring. This is split 4. This is the last race of the day. All 3 races so far have been incredible. We're at the Nurburgring Endurance. 7 laps, 2 times tire wear, 3 times fuel, in their Group 3 manufacturer that they have chosen with the medium tires required. Now, remind me, Sal, did you use the softs at all? You finished on the softs, right?
Yep, I did the last stint, the last 2 laps on the soft tire.
Okay, interesting. And how does the medium tire feel compared to that soft?
You know, it feels pretty similar. I mean, there's just some spots where you need to take it just a little bit easier, but for the most part, they feel pretty close to the same. I mean, with the softs, you can kind of throw it around a bit. But honestly, it's they're not too bad. I mean, you end up being, I think it's about 5 seconds slower, which at the Nurburgring isn't all that much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad at all.
Interesting.
Looks like we got qualifying starting.
Here we go. Let the games begin. Yes, I do realize I didn't have audio on that slide. My apologies, y'all. But please confirm you can hear us now.
Testing. Sal here.
Okay, good. Yeah, it was the slide I forgot to use. It makes sense that there was no audio on it because I didn't use it. So we got Wicked CBR, of course, in the Cornflake Mobile. We know those CBR drivers love their snacks. So it's
Oh,
interesting, and you can kind of talk us through what we saw in yours was half the field went out on the intermediates, and then a bunch of y'all waited. But what are we seeing here, Sal, with drivers still sitting in the pits?
well, I would imagine they're probably either just letting the track kind of get dried out a bit. I mean, the first guy out is going to have the wettest track. And it's become really apparent at this one just how much it dries out based on how many other people are going out. So they may just be doing that, or they're waiting to, actually go on the softs. I decided to go out on the softs right away and
Okay.
to burn fuel, and just take it easy in the wet. I actually did spin it in one spot just because I didn't take it quite easy enough, but I didn't hit anything, and it was the outlap anyway, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, we did see a few drivers do just that and spin it out as soon as they got on onto the track in turn one, even, and then going through here because it does seem like the GP section is much slicker than the actual Nordschleifer. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's definitely how it feels. I don't know if it's because there's just less driving on it. The one thing I was worried about coming onto the front stretch is that that's certainly where there's the least. So going into turn one is definitely going to be the wettest part of the track. So that first lap on the racing tire, I definitely went into turn one gingerly than normal. So
And I'm digging this livery from Calvert here with the little scorpion on this side. I like the color.
that's kind of looks a lot like what Wrench Wench did with the
Yeah.
livery contest winning style. So maybe he's going for some style points here.
Indeed. And who was in the Viper yesterday? Because they also had that kind of vibe.
Well, that was
going.
K-Dub.
That was K-Dub.
And theirs
yeah.
looked a little more scaly than the well, I suppose, which is still a serpent, but these are certainly bigger. K-Dub's definitely had a tighter pattern to it. But yes, definitely.
And I think what we're seeing here is this is the quote unquote bottom split. So these drivers do feel less comfortable around here, shall we say, than maybe splits 1 and 2. Because I don't see anybody on
Yeah,
softs.
nobody's on the softs.
I could see Rick Shear maybe coming out of the pits on the inners. We'll have to wait and see. But it looks
Well,
like
I think he was somebody who didn't qualify,
Oh, so
I'm
he has to
wondering
wait.
if he has to start at the back. Or he's waiting and is going to go out on soft. But yeah, everybody's on inters, which isn't a real surprise. If these guys are using the safer tire, we may see more of these guys running a higher traction control setting. That's expected. And no fault to any of that.
No.
You need to drive within your skill set and do what you can, and that's how you get better. You do tracks like this, you use some of the assists, you race around other good people that are all trying to better themselves, and also trying to keep it clean with everybody else. Wants to drive clean, wants to have a good fun race, and this is how you learn. And then you do something like this, and then maybe the next race you dial down the settings a little bit, or maybe after a couple weeks of practice or a couple months of practice, you dial it back till you start to get up there. But or you just want to have fun and you just leave the settings on because that's what's fun for you.
Absolutely.
Because you just don't want to spin. You don't want to get into somebody, and there's definitely nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And that's one of the things I like how Shaggy has set this league up is that you qualify for your split each week. So each week you could be in a different split, every race for the most part.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, if you increase your skill set a little bit, or if you just simply are better at one track or the other, we will certainly see people bounce around between the different splits. I mean, some of the top guys are always going to be in split one.
Right.
The Jorges, the Pyros, or even McNaughty this week, who was in split 3. We attribute that to this being like a one and done qualifier, and he just happened to have a problem. But obviously, as we saw yesterday, he ran away with the field. He was kind of out of his well, not out of his league, above his league, in that particular split. But as we get to more tracks where you get multiple laps in to qualify, everybody will kind of settle into where they belong that week, based on how well they do at that track. Some people just really like Daytona, so we get to Daytona and they're going to qualify better than when we go to the Nurburgring, or some people might really like Interlagos, and do better there than they do at Watkins Glen, so there's all that kind of stuff.
And then you have to factor in some of these races will be in Group 4 versus Group 3, and there's some drivers who excel. I think most of the drivers who are good at Group 3 are also good at Group 4, but there are some that definitely do better, and maybe at a combo like this can't quite put it together, but like Group 4 at Interlagos, they might just fly as well.
And honestly, I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
I prefer Group 4. I've gotten better at Group 3, or I should say I've gotten more comfortable with Group 3, but I've always loved Group 4 better. And I think that's just my skill set. Like I'm below that A+ rating.
Right.
And all the A+ guys seem to love Group 3 and hate Group 4, and I'm sort of the other way around. I love Group 4. But with this being, you bring up a good point with the different groups, is that this being a manufacturer's championship, you may be in a car where maybe the Group 3 isn't as competitive, but your Group 4 car is, or vice versa. That can also shift around what split you might be in from week to week.
Yeah, exactly.
And just who's driving. If somebody really enjoys Group 3, maybe all they're going to do is drive the Group 3 races and not even be there for the Group 4 races. So, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So that can happen as well. You may just have different drivers each week. Again, we're running it in the GTWS style, so not all of your rounds count.
Right.
Only 5 rounds of your points count towards your championship point level. So there's basically 4 throwaway races, which you can either decide to not attend, or you can run all 9 races and then you just throw away your 4 worst ones. So there's that as well.
Indeed. And we're seeing a good mix of cars out here. Nissan, Genesis, the Supra, or not the Supra, the Toyota Concept.
The the VGT.
And that's interesting. We talked about that yesterday. Is some of these drivers are in. Some of the manufacturers have multiple cars to choose from, whereas those like the Genesis, you only have one car to choose from in each category. So there could be an advantage to those who have multiple options as well, depending on the track and car combo. It's interesting to see Wicked staying so close to Strict 9 as they are about to come onto the straight here to slowly get their way around to begin the lap. But as we've seen, the first across the line usually are not the fastest. So I expect to see the likes of Arrow and Calvert potentially put in a quicker lap time than that of Strict 9 and CBR Wicked. But we know that they're quick drivers, so we'll see how much space Wicked gives.
That's one of the strategies to hanging back, is you get the drier track, and that does help out quite a bit.
Speaking of, we see another CBR driver just pull over to the side and knows what he's doing. That's what we saw yesterday. Their team has practiced together, and sure enough, he's going to take a break.
They definitely have team orders or a team strategy.
And Talon is correct. Miata is the greatest of all. You're not wrong, Talon.
No bias in that opinion at all.
None whatsoever.
Man, so yeah, these guys are all starting their hot laps, huh?
Strict 9.
Getting going. We'll see just what kind of times they get. It will be interesting to see, like you mentioned, just how these front runners will do. Again, with this being sort of the lower split, there may be a little less strategy involved. It may just be more of a, just getting the laps in, getting the seat time in. So there's that. Another thing to point out on these cars is that this season we gave drivers the option to pick a car number that they then have for the season. So it looks like Strict 9 here has number 17. He's got that displayed on the side of his car. So as viewers, you guys watch for that. You'll see that the different cars have the different numbers, and as you get to know your favorite drivers, you can follow them from week to week and maybe help recognize their car a little better.
Indeed. And again, all this information is on the website. I have it pinned in the chat. So if you haven't been to papashouseofgame.com, please do so. You can click on the link in the chat. I promise it is not a phishing scam. It is an actual link. I guarantee. And you can find out all the information as far as round info, driver standings, where these are going to be streamed, because myself, Salamander, a few others do stream the qualifying during the week. Salamander, you streamed last night for those 2 races, which were incredible. And I'm streaming this, so you can get all your information about this series on the website. So please do click on that. I know you've put a lot of work into it. Several others behind the scenes have done a lot of work to get that website up and running.
Yeah, it is definitely a work in progress. We are continually adding to it. You know, obviously there's no point standings right now because we haven't completed the first week. But once this is wrapped up, we will get that out there. Ooh, looks like Strychnine. I'm not sure if that was netcode or if he actually just tapped the wall. He has no damage though.
Yeah, we saw a few of those in your race where, you know, it looked like contact happened at multiple points, but no damage given to them at all.
Yeah, I did get damage at one spot. I had one lap where it's like, oh, I went off, took a little tire damage, but I was like 10 seconds ahead at that point. So, and I didn't, you know, like we mentioned yesterday, if you hit the wall at the right angle, you just kind of keep going. Mm-hmm. You don't really lose a lot of time. So thankfully, that's also what happened. But I had basically that one mistake that I was like, oh, that could have been costly if I was in the middle of a battle with somebody. But
indeed. Yeah,
and these guys will see the same thing. You know, the damage will come and go. Thankfully, we do light damage in this series, so that you don't end up like taking damage in turn 1 and destroying your entire race.
Indeed. And we saw that a lot of the overtakes that happened. We did see a lot of good wheel-to-wheel, you know, send it up the inside or around the outside, but there were quite a few overtakes of somebody just running a little bit wide and just allowing the other person through. But I will say I highly recommend you go back and watch the broadcast, Salamander, because you'll see a lot of just really brave, who can be later on the brakes, who's gonna chance it around the outside overtakes further back. It was really the battles for P7 and like P10 were just insane, as we get a beautiful camera shot of this concept Toyota here. Real Sean man.
Yeah, I will say I had commented on my stream when I was right behind Enigma and Shadow Chef that there was a point where they went into, I think it was that fast left-hander in the first third of the track or so, and I think it was Shadow Chef put the move on Enigma and they went too wide through there, and I was like, as we were coming up to it, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. And they went through it just fine. He got the pass. I was like, dang, that was nice.
Yeah, it was.
I had a front row seat for that one.
Yeah, you did. You had a great view for that. For it was like the first 2 or 3 laps. It was everywhere. It was just everybody had a good view of something. It was hard to keep track of all the action. And I forgot to practice my keyboard command, so I was on the fly trying to remember what did what, but I think I did an okay job getting all the replays.
I know I made a couple mistakes last night too, where I'm like, I need to mark the keyframe, and instead I like started a replay from like a lap ago. Whoops.
It's like, we were like, what's happening here?
You know, we're all professionals here.
Indeed.
You know, nothing ever goes wrong.
I tell you what, I've been having so much fun on this production side. I love the broadcasting as well, and today was a good challenge and a fun one I enjoyed. But getting to be a part of this with you guys and the PHG crew, I definitely love doing. So I'm grateful to be a part of the crew, that's for sure.
Oh, we like having you.
Well, thanks.
Thanks for stepping up to the challenge.
Absolutely. I didn't have anything else. What was I going to do? Mow the grass? I don't think so. It's like 100 degrees outside.
That's what the drivers are for.
Exactly. And we did see quite a bit of that. Some lawn mowing, and we saw Papa a couple times take to the grass.
So far, I haven't seen much drama here in the qualifying. Everybody seems to be keeping it on the track.
And who is that
You know,
way in the back? Is that Wicked in P7 just now going through? Yeah. So
yeah.
Wicked's pushing it to the end here. And
Well, again, he's going to do the, like, really get it down to the wire. If they've gotten their timings right, we've seen those guys just barely make it across the line. I wasn't quite brave enough to try to get to the point where it's like, let me try to time it so I only have 10 seconds left. I'm like, no, because then if I go off,
yep.
uh, then I'll miss it entirely. So I think when I crossed the line, I still had a minute and a half or 2 minutes left,
Yeah.
which is kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to have that breathing room, but yeah, these guys seem to have done the math and figured it out as a team in order to, really maximize their potential at least.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Wicked, with how late he's gone, he could have done this on the softs if he felt comfortable enough. But you can see on his line that he's taking, he is not quite staying on the dry line. So maybe he just didn't quite have that confidence to do it on the softs like we saw some of the people like yourself in the higher splits do.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, like there he went wide a little bit on that curb. Could have been disastrous if he was on the race. But again, I mean, that's people sticking to, their strengths, or knowing where their limitations are and just staying within them. That's always the worst thing is when you're driving with people who maybe think they're better than they are, and then they end up causing all sorts of chaos.
Yep.
It actually ends up. I've found that when we did the exhibition, a few months back, that some of these lower splits sometimes were the most exciting.
Yeah.
Like they had really good racing. Even if they're not quite as, quote unquote skilled of a driver, they're all still trying to, they're running in this league. They're trying to drive clean and all that stuff. And it's actually led to some really exciting racing throughout, and in all the races, we've seen battles at the back that are just as exciting as the battles in the front. So
absolutely.
I've really enjoyed the whole season.
Yeah.
And I think that, goes along with, Shaggy's idea of having the split qualifiers every week so we can keep the skill sets together. I think it's really made for some great racing every week.
Yeah, it's kept it very competitive. Very competitive.
Absolutely.
It doesn't seem like we have too many repeat manufacturers in this race, so it should be interesting to see, how these different cars, like in your split, we had quite a few MR cars, but we're not quite seeing that here. As Strict 9 goes across the line with an 834.394.
That's kind of right on par with what we've seen with the first drivers, right in the between the 825, 835 range, driving on the wets and the intermediates.
Oof, but unfortunately, for real Sean Man, it's going to be an 852, which is not...
I wonder if he had an issue.
Yeah, he must have, because he wasn't that far off Strict 9 at one point. As we look at speed, I guess we do have an MR car here with speed bump.
Right, and Speed Bump's tires are doing... I'm cycling through the field. Speed Bump's tires are probably the best of the field. A lot of these drivers that are coming up behind him, their intermediates are pretty worn, with the exception of Wicked CBR, who has quite a bit of tire left as well.
And we saw that in your split with the McLarens seeming to have quite a bit of grip as... Oh, Mick Bugle Fingers up into P2.
P2 with an 843.
See if T. Calvert can improve. He's at an 822, still on the straight.
Yeah, PHG Aero is at about 810 in the same spot, so doing quite a bit faster. But yeah, no surprise that Genesis, the tires on Aero's car look pretty bad. But yeah, let's see where Calvert ends up. Aero's pretty much right on his heels.
P4.
852.
Aero should jump up into P2. There's our last person to cross the line is way far away from the line. Wicked CBR in the Kellogg's livery. Just
We
hit.
still have
Oh, and he's
over 2.5 minutes. So yeah, he's 1.8 up on pole
strict
position right now.
Yeah. So it's looking like he should, assuming he doesn't make any mistakes, he's got a couple more turns to get through.
I'm surprised. The Genesis is usually pretty bad on the tires, and he's sitting pretty good, especially for having waited to run these on a drier track. You'd think they'd get eaten up. He must be trying to manage those tires well, which is probably why his lap times are better. Yeah, coming up on the Donninger Straits. Going to cross the checkpoint here at a 7:43. That's not bad. That kind of puts him. It's usually right around 30 seconds from there, give or take. So he may be on pace for an 8:15.
Ooh.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Or am I remembering that right? That seems too much.
I don't know. Let's see. He's at 8 minutes right now. Coming up.
No, that's right. It's about a minute.
Yeah.
From there, I think.
He's up
But
3
still,
seconds.
3 seconds
now.
up.
Yep. And he's revving that thing out, and this is where it gets a little tricky. Slow it down.
As long as you stay on the dry line, you're good. You get off of it. But it looks like he kept it on the dry line.
And that's going to put him across the line. Should be
30.
pole. Then
8:31.001.
Wow. Very, very nice. Of course, Rick Shear is not qualifying, going to start in the back. But that
It'll be a fun one to watch. Again, knowing that Rick Shear is a talented driver, see how he can take that Corvette through the field.
And I'm seeing in chat, Arrow had a small off, so I think Arrow was hoping to get a little bit better of a time than he got.
Well, I mean, he's still up in P3, so
Very
that
solid.
might bode well for his chances at a win if he ended up in P3 in qualifying with a mistake.
Yeah. Indeed. Indeed. This will be the final race of round 1, season 2 of the GT PHG WS. We've had 3 bangers, no clangers yet. I have a feeling it's going to be 4 bangers in a row.
That's what we're hoping for.
Indeed.
I would not be surprised. This
No.
should be a good race.
And it's
I'm really looking forward to the fact that we do have 7 different manufacturers out of 8 cars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Genesis is the only thing that's doubled up in this lobby.
Indeed. Will you take us through our qualifying results there, Sal?
Sure. So on the pole position is Wicked CBR in the Genesis with an 8:31.001. That strategy of hanging back seems to have paid off for him. In P2, we got PHG Strict 9 in the GTR. We got in P3, PHG Arrow, also in the Genesis. So we got a Genesis in first and third. Definitely look out for them. P4, we have Mick Buglefingers in the Mustang. I think this is only the second Ford that we've got in this series. So excited to see how the Mustang goes. P5, we got Speed Bump in the NSX. In P6, we have T. Calvert in a nicely liveried BMW M6. In P7, Real Shanman 92 in the Toyota FT1 VGT. And in P8, we got PHG Rick Shear in Team Corvette. And I think that rounds it out. We're going to have eight people running in this split.
Yep. That
Should be a fun one. Should allow them a little bit more breathing room and a little more space.
Indeed. Hopefully.
But now we're going to go back to the heavy rain for this thing to start off with. You know, those first couple turns. I think in every race, we've seen everybody be very well managed in those first couple turns, which has been surprising. You know, given what we normally see in the dailies, I tend to harp on this. You know, that these guys kind of keep it together. There's so much respect that you have in the league racing, and I've been pleasantly surprised that nobody's made even the mental error of going bowling in the first turn. So hopefully these guys will do the same. I mean, we all love the replays with the mistakes, but at the same time, it's also good to see these guys go single file for a while and be able to actually challenge for some passes. So
Indeed, and we and the race you were just in, we had good replays of good clean overtakes. So it definitely delivered. As we are getting
awesome
ready
sauce.
to start this race.
Yep, this one should go a little quicker. I know Shaggy had to do a bit of maneuvering to get Mr. Ormond in and get the lineup set.
Right.
It was giving me some anxiety waiting for the waiting for everything to start.
It's like,
Like, let's go.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah. I got thrown off when all of a sudden I saw his name pop up there and I was like, wait, I don't remember seeing him qualifying. What? And then it all got sorted and made for an excellent race as we are getting ready here for the final race of round one. As it's doing that silly thing where it has the people out of order, but it should. It might just
sort
be on
itself
my.
out as they get going.
Yeah, sometimes it's on my end that it does that. But
Yeah, it's looking like that on my end too.
we'll see what happens because it is looking like Wicked is pulling away.
Uh-oh.
And everybody else is far behind. Sometimes it sorts itself out, but not looking like it as Wicked comes down into turn one. He's got Strict 9 behind him. Oh, and Strict gets a little squirrely. It does look a bit chaotic further back.
Rick Shearer was able to pick up 2 spots before, throughout for the first turn. So up to P6 for him. Everything seems pretty well sorted.
Indeed. See if that gap has come down. Yeah, it's now showing Wicked in P1, followed by Arrow, followed by Strick 9. Arrow able to get ahead of Strick. And pretty calm as it looks like Rick does go for another move back there.
Yep.
Getting up to
P5.
P5.
That was a good clean run. Ooh, almost lost it.
A little squiggle, but now has speed bump applying the pressure. And that rain is coming down. It is wet out there. And then a pretty big gap back there to P7 and 8. We'll go back up front with our race leader, Wicked, who has come down almost a second between him and Arrow. And now,
As much as it looked like he drove off in the beginning, they're all still pretty stacked up. And back in P6, McBuglefingers goes around trying to get onto the Nordschleifer.
Oh, you hate to see it, but it does happen. As he's very close to Strick and just gets on the throttle too much and spins it out. Can he get it going in the right direction? And it looks like he does.
Yeah, that Mustang definitely is apt to that power oversteer. It's got a lot of torque in those rear tires, a lot like the Corvette. It's hard to keep it under the control, especially in these wet conditions.
Indeed. The curbs can be treacherous. They can be treacherous in the dry around here. Throw a bunch of water on it, and it's that much more. As they are now pulling a good bit of a gap to the back of the field. And now Wicked is going forward as it looks like Strict 9 is going for the move and gets it done on Arrow. Can he keep it on the track? Arrow's now applying the pressure back on him.
That Genesis is going to have... Oh, he got a little wiggly. I was going to say that Genesis has some good acceleration and top speed. Maybe in the slipstream could have overtaken him, but got it a little too loose coming out of there and lost the momentum.
Indeed, and that's putting Rick Shear now applying the pressure, but Arrow is looking... Nope, not close enough to do anything. Has to get on the brakes, and now Rick applying a lot of pressure there on Arrow, making it difficult to pay attention on what's in front of him because he's got to focus on what's behind, whereas Rick doesn't really have anything to worry about back there.
I will say all the spray. Oh boy, Wicked goes. Oh, he keeps it back. He gets it back on and keeps it under control. Maintains P1.
I think he's gonna let those guys through. Let's see what happens here. Just carrying too much speed.
Rides the wall, but yeah, keeps it on track. Good
And
good on him and has been able to maintain it.
he keeps
But
P1.
yeah, it definitely has Strychnine right on his bumper. We got 4 cars in a row here, and how about Rick Shear? Like we were mentioning, up in P4, all of 1 second off the leader, and we're only not even halfway through the first lap.
That is very impressive. No qualifying to P4, as now Strychnine is really getting that pressure on Wicked. It's got to be so challenging to try to focus on the driver in front and have that going on behind you.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say is in driving this very first lap, if you're following close to somebody or a couple of cars, the spray coming off the back does make it really hard to pick out where you're going. If you've got certain brake points you look for, or as a turn is coming up, it's really easy to miss it with all that spray off the cars. It doesn't look that way so much from the views that we're using on the
Right.
outside, but if you do the like hood cam that some guys use, or the in-car cam, it's really distracting.
It looks like Speed Bump has managed to start to catch up there to Rick Shear. I thought I saw Real Sean Man in the back, but I guess not. But Rick is now applying the pressure, and let's see if we can see what that spray looks like. We'll go on board with Arrow as he's a little bit closer, and you're right, it does hinder your view a little bit. Definitely harder to see these cars in the more theatrical, cinematic view. Coming through, they are all over the back of Wicked.
This tight left-hander, this gets really tricky. It's so easy to go off and wash out to the right. Look at CBR, goes right to the edge, but keeps it on. All these guys kept it on track.
Very impressive to race this closely in these conditions. Not easy, as Arrow's able to keep a really tight line in comparison to Strychnine as we come up to the carousel, where this can really hurt your lap if you don't get it right. Oof, Arrow under a lot of pressure now from Rick.
Rick is right on him.
And
That's the thing, though, that Genesis has great acceleration. I mean, the Corvette is known for its acceleration out of corners as well, but that Genesis also has a lot of power. So Rick's going to have his work cut out for him to try to get around Arrow.
Indeed. And as far as the Corvette in the wet, how was that for you?
It's not too bad as long as you've got some traction control on.
Okay.
Without that, it's tough. I'll be honest, I leaned on that traction control quite a bit. There were a lot of corners where I could apply a lot more throttle and just let the traction control ease me into acceleration. Before some of the big BOP updates, even the traction control wouldn't help, and you would most certainly spin out in conditions like this in the Corvette. It has definitely gotten easier to drive. Oh, and Rick gets around Arrow. Arrow had a bit of a bobble coming out of that corner. That's exactly what Rick needed to hope for, was for Arrow to make a mistake, because to get around without it was going to be difficult.
Right on board with Arrow, and yep, he just gets on the throttle a bit too quick, isn't able to get the traction down, and as you said, exactly what Rick was looking for.
Yeah, so Rick up to P3, about 3/4 of the way through this opening lap, and that also Speed Bump is not too far behind Arrow as well.
Yeah.
So these top 5 are coming along, and even the real Shanman can see those guys up ahead. He is not outside of view.
Doesn't have to worry about.
I think we've seen this in most of the races. Oh, Strychnine almost went off there. But yeah, in most of these races, the first 2 laps, because everybody needs to be so careful that they stay bunched up, it's once it starts to dry out a bit, when they can, these guys and their talents can really show, and then they start to spread out.
Mm-hmm.
In the wet is kind of a bit of an equalizer. It keeps them bunched up, which certainly makes it exciting.
I agree. This has been a solid first lap to see, and it is still plenty wet out there. We know they're going to do at least one more lap, but Rick is in the slipstream now of Strick. Seems to have got a much better exit. He's going to make this look easy.
Yep.
He says, ciao. And now Arrow coming.
How about that? P2. looks like Speed Bump fell a little behind. He's outside of the slip for this long straight. So those guys up ahead, you know, the four of them, even if they're fighting, they're getting the slipstream and kind of pulling away, turning this into a 4-car race early on.
We got Genesis, Chevy, Nissan, Genesis. And now he's putting a lot of pressure. It looks like that Nissan is just struggling getting on the power for the straights, because now Arrow is going to try to be brave going up the inside if he can get the move done before the braking zone. On the brakes, Strick's going to try to stick it around the outside. Not going to be able to hold on, but it will be the inside. Can Arrow get the power down? He does.
Yep. Yeah, we mentioned the Genesis and the Corvettes are the ones that have kind of the most torquey power, along with the Mustang.
Oh, but Strick isn't done. He wants to get in there. And then now we have Rick and Wicked very, very close. That was tight. And now Strick's going to go, and he's going to get the inside here going into this next turn.
Oh, and Rick making the move too. Oh, dives it in.
Double move. But
Wicked going for the cutback. Rick Shear's able to pull it off up into P1, last to first.
That was incredible.
Oh, that was two different sets of overtakes at the same time, which has allowed Speed Bump to kind of catch back up to him. I mean, the more Speed Bump's looking for these guys to battle.
Yep. He needs to see it happen. Allow him to make it up. But Rick definitely moving up ahead. Is he able to stay ahead? He is. And T. Calvert in the pits. It looks like he was on the wets. Very interesting. So, not sure if he's now going to switch to the inters as Rick goes a bit deep, giving Wicked a sniff, but Wicked can't quite make anything happen. Arrow all over the back of Strychnine and Speed Bump there to boot. Oh, and it looks like Strick touched the grass a little bit, allowing Arrow to get that much closer. We're right on board with Arrow now as he comes in. He does have the pressure behind of Speed Bump. But
yeah, this is where the MRs are gonna excel, is in this twisty part. So, you know, this is the point in time where Speed Bump needs to catch up. Try to get a pass done if possible, because now once we get up to this long straight, as long as the these more high-powered cars get a good exit, they'll kind of take off.
Indeed,
Arrow's going to run on Strychnine. This is going to be a tough place to pass, though, and he just works with him.
Yep, giving him a little bump, sending him forward, staying in the slipstream, and waiting for a smart place to pass instead of forcing the issue.
Right. Yeah. But back about a minute ago when we were watching Rick Shear hold on to first, we saw Real Shanman had gone off, allowing McBuglefingers to get back up to P6. He's still 10 seconds away from Speed Bump, so he's got a ways to go to get caught up. Oh! Is that Strychnine that went off?
That was. Right on board with Strychnine coming in into the heavy braking zone here for this right-hander. Just a little late on the brakes and goes too deep, and not much he can do, and that loses him 2 positions.
But he didn't spin. Getting into that dirt, if you don't accept what's happening and keep your foot into the throttle, you'll very easily spin it out and make a bad situation even worse. So good on him for keeping it on. He can continue to battle for a good spot.
Indeed. Spread out. Let's go check back here on McBuglefingers, who I don't really see.
He's got an 8.4 second gap to Strychnine. You know, so certainly Strychnine having a problem has allowed him a little bit to catch up. He is slowly reeling them in because he's got clean air all around.
Yep.
He can just continue to put in good laps, shake off what happened earlier. Could possibly catch up by the end and start battling for a podium.
It is definitely possible, especially if we see multiple strategies, because we watched that play out in these other races where not everybody did the same thing, and it was hard to tell who was actually going to finish where, because we had to wait and see how long the pits were, and then we saw some jump others in the pits because of not needing to take as much fuel.
Strychnine gets around Speed Bump. Speed Bump had gone wide about 2 corners earlier, which allowed Strychnine to catch up. and was able to get the pass done. I see speed bump
Sure
going slow.
enough.
Small little tap going into that corner, but man, he had a lot of closing speed. Hard not to take that shot.
Absolutely. When you track like this, especially, you got to take out every opportunity that you can find. That's an interesting camera angle. There we go. Those are some nice trees.
Checking out the birds. Maybe there was a nest in there.
Arrow keeping the pressure on Rick. Genesis versus Corvette. Good on Arrow, able to stay well within the slipstream and start to pull away from Wicked back there.
Yep.
Should be interesting.
Yeah, those first two are still having a good battle. The rest has kind of started to stretch out a bit. But Wicked went a little deep. Didn't have a problem. Kind of slowed him down.
So go in to the mini, or no, the full carousel.
Full carousel.
And it looks like Rick just managed to do that a little bit better than Arrow, as he's now over a second ahead, making this last to first challenge look pretty easy. So the real question is, does everybody do the same thing? Do they all dive into the pits? And if they do they go medium, soft? It seemed like the one stop is a real challenge for most people. So it really does look like the two stop, unless you're super confident about your fuel consumption, the two stop's the way to go.
Oh, and it looks like we have been graced with the presence of Papa here in the booth. Papa,
Good
you come in to
afternoon.
give us a little insight.
Insight. I finished ninth.
It wasn't last.
Not last. Hashtag not last.
I kind of knew that was going to happen, though. The McLarens, once that road tracked right out, it doesn't have the acceleration that these G70s and the Vets and everybody else had. I could keep up a little bit in the wet, but
Yeah, it was interesting to see the different cars' strengths really come out depending on the conditions. But you all provided a very exciting race. You kept me talking the entire time. But I'm sure you're glad it's over, and then your favorite racetrack is coming up next, so you'll be able to get prepared for Interlagos.
Shaggy Nail and Papa with the 1-2 punch on it. Get the first two bad tracks out of the way,
and
then
the
you can
third
enjoy
one.
the rest of the season, right?
You know, the third one's not one of my favorite either. Big Willow.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're right. You've got like your top three bangers right out of the chute.
Yeah.
But you know, with 14 total races, if you count the All-Star race,
Right.
you get to just enjoy the rest of it.
Yeah.
Have you memorized what week Watkins Glen is? Because I know that's one of your favorites.
I have not. I just know the first three. That's what's stuck in my head.
Got to get through those.
Yeah, pretty convinced Shaggy hates me, and that's why he did it. But payback for something. Had to have been.
Had to have been. Coming up at the end of lap 2, and this is where I imagine we're going to see pit stop action as, yes, P1 and 2 into the pits, P3 in the pits, and Strychnine
stays out.
tries to stay out, doing something different here. Speed
He does have a
bump.
lot of tire life left.
He
He
does.
can keep it on the wet line. It could work.
Shaggy.
We see speed
We'll see if
bump
he's
in
doing the one
pits.
stopper or if he's just wanting to lead a lap.
Well, and we saw Sheldologist make the one stopper work beautifully yesterday. We saw two options of the one stopper, and Sheldologist definitely made it work very nicely. And he was also in the GTR, was he not?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
So that'll be interesting, and we'll see what these guys came out on. Rick came out on the mediums. Arrow with the
Oh, Andy's got the
and the penalty.
3-second pen.
Oh,
Well, speed bump overdrives the
So he-
first corner too.
he crashed
guys
coming
need to be
out of the
careful coming out of
pits.
the pits.
Yep. Crash coming out of the pits, and he's going to crash again. Oh. Oh, and Wicked. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So this is now where strict... No, oh, no! I need to get off of Arrow. I need to stop. I'm sorry, Arrow. I didn't mean it. But Strict 9 is going to look really good here because while yes, his lap's going to be slower, it looks like these guys, well, maybe not Rick, but the others, CBR, are Wicked, and those struggling on the slick tires.
While we were watching Arrow pirouette, I was watching Speed Bump was kind of doing the same thing. So those two are now, locked in a battle. They're actually back there between 5 and 6. PHG Arrow, though, with the 3-second penalty. But at least they have somebody to play with here for this lap.
Indeed, keep company.
I did go back to watch the pits, and Strict 9 just barely was P1 when he crossed the line. So he should get
that bonus point.
Yeah.
Very nice. Oh, we got another yellow flag up ahead. Who is this going to be for? Oh, no.
Oh, McBugle fingers.
Ouch.
Let's see what happens here. Oh, into the grass. Getting slippery. Yep, this is going to be a struggle lap for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, I was saying on my stream that, that the opening lap is difficult, and then lap 3 is probably just as difficult, because that's that first lap on the racing tires where the racing line is very thin. There's still a lot of water on the side of the track, so you can't use all of the track. It's very much a single file kind of run. There isn't going to be much passing unless somebody goes off. Again, you just need to kind of wait for somebody to make a mistake. But it's so tight. The tolerances are so tight for lap 3 that lap 3 is almost more nerve-wracking than lap 1.
And Strict 9 is starting to pull a gap on Rick Shear. The pit stop, what is it, like 30 seconds depending on fuel?
Something like that, yeah.
So if Strick can, with the gap he has to Rick right now, which is now starting to go down, and the gap between him and Wicked, this strategy should pay out because Wicked, Arrow, Speed Bump, and McBugle Fingers all had an incident coming out of the pit, so this is really shaping up well for Strick. Yep. He's just going to have to worry about Rick, which seems like Rick's got this one in the bag, coming out, handling this dry line without much issue.
Yeah, that's the thing, again, with the, you can come out here in lap 3, again, you can have the tire advantage. Oh, and Speed Bump just went off.
Strict 9 ended up with some damage. Let's see what happens here as he runs too deep into the wall and keeps it pointing straight, which is important. Yep. And who did you say?
Speed Bump has lost a position to Bugle Fingers in his. Good on him, though. He was working his way back onto the track and saw McBugle Fingers coming up and stays out of the way.
Very nice.
Lets him go by.
Good sportsmanship right there.
Yep. Yeah, he seems to be struggling a bit with trying to stay on this dry line. But yeah, what I was trying to say was, you may have Strict 9 with the quote-unquote lesser tire right now, but he has the advantage of he can use the whole track.
Yep.
Whereas these other guys may have a better tire, but have a much more stringent line that they can run. And typically, if you can run it full bore, you can be faster. But most drivers will dial it back a bit because the smallest of mistakes are catastrophic.
Indeed.
So no surprise that Strict 9 can kind of keep the gap if he's doing that. But as the track dries out, Rick Shear will start reeling him in pretty quickly.
Yeah, and he already has. It's already gone down 6 seconds.
Oh boy!
Just in that time we watched those couple of replays. And Strick is now, he's really going to need to cool those tires off. Oh my goodness, look at those fronts. Luckily, he's getting towards the end of his lap. Going through the carousel.
He's got the long straight. That won't eat the tires up much. So he may be in the clear. It is going to be a struggle. That last section in the braking zone, he's going to have to be real careful.
Yeah. He's definitely going to need to start looking for moisture on the track which doesn't seem to be doing, but I guess you can do that on the straight, get on that wet line, try to cool those tires off a bit. But he's going to be begging for the pits come the end of this lap, as Rick is now...
Rick Shear should easily be able to overtake him. The question is whether Rick Shear or Strychnine is going to do this as a one-stopper. And,
Right.
you know, omitting an entire pit stop that could bring everybody pretty close together by the end.
Yep.
We'll see how this plays out.
Will be interesting. And it's, yeah, it really just comes down to how they're doing the fuel. I don't know, did you do any fuel mapping or fuel saving?
No.
No? What about you, Papa?
Nope.
I did not.
Okay.
I thought about it. I thought about doing the one stop, but I didn't want to worry about fuel running 5 laps on it. It gets really, really tight, so...
Well,
I
that
went with-
just having another thing to try to manage while you're going through these 100-some-odd turns is difficult.
Yeah.
Trying to keep it simple in the cockpit, the way to go.
Yeah.
I will call out McBuglefingers here. You know, he had that early incident. We talked about him needing to keep it clean. Is up in P5,
Yeah.
only 6 seconds off of Arrow. You know, Arrow we know is really fast. You know, top 5 finish here. If he can keep, again, keeping it clean, just being consistent, hasn't made any mistakes since the first one. Is just quietly kind of working his way back up. You know, got ahead of Speed Bump because Speed Bump made a mistake.
Yep. Arrow, unfortunately, when he came out of the pits, had too many mistakes, which has hurt him.
Right.
Still in P4, serving this 3-second penalty is definitely going to hurt.
Well, and the question is whether McBuglefingers even knows that Arrow has the penalty,
Right.
because he's going to be right on him by the end of this long straight. You know, a 3-second penalty will cost you 6 seconds, and that is about the gap.
Yeah, indeed. We'll stay on board here, and then we'll switch up to Rick Shear once they get closer to the start-finish straight. But based on what I
Rick Shear
see
can-
on the map, he's looking like he's going to easily overtake.
Yeah, he is 5.6 seconds back from Strychnine. He can see him, knowing that Strychnine's going to have to hit the pits the way those tires are. Strychnine getting through. He's getting through the braking zone area just fine, and he heads into the pits.
Into the pit. So there goes Arrow slowing down. And, oh, look at that. He sees him. He sees him.
Smells blood in the water.
Yep.
And Wicked CBR is about to cross the line.
Is he going to get ahead?
May
of
end up
Stryk-
ahead of Strychnine as well.
Doesn't look like he's quite close enough to catch Arrow by the end of this straight.
But he's got somebody to race now.
Yep. He's got a slipstream to look forward to here in just a minute. So Strick coming out on the mediums. In P3. No penalty, but does go a bit deep. Gets it back on the track. But if he...
No problems there.
And he did a full tank of gas, so I see him doing the one stop.
Yep, most likely. So we'll see how that works out. And like I was
Arrow
saying,
just
we
jump
had
through
the
the
cone
air?
bound. We saw
Yeah,
the
we
cone
did.
bound.
What was that? Here we go. And the invisible cone.
Oh, it's the invisible cone.
There was a cone there earlier.
Nice.
Yeah, Wicked CBR was also able to jump Strychnine with that pit, but both Rick Shear and Wicked are going to have to pit one more time, whereas Strychnine doesn't. Strychnine's only
He's not far.
he's within 10 seconds
Yeah.
of Wicked CBR, so this could work out for a podium finish.
For sure. For sure. And now Arrow has McBuglefingers to think about. As they
Arrow is
run.
starting to pull away. I mean, Arrow did have a better qualifier, so if he can keep it clean, he should be able to maintain that P4 position. But we know McBuglefingers is now like, I can see somebody.
Yep.
You know, just
Sometimes
hopefully he
that's all
doesn't
you
try to
need.
over push it. You know, that's the thing you got to look out for.
Exactly. And it's, you know, it's. I know Arrow has to be frustrated with coming out of the pits the way he did, because he was battling for the top, and then two spins in a row really didn't help him. Plus that 3-second penalty. He's just got to put his head down and race his own race and try to gain some time on Strick. But I mean, he's going to have to pit at the end of this lap. Look at his fuel. You only get about a quarter of a tank a lap, so he's going to have to box again and refill.
And he'll probably the question's going to be if he's going to go and try to run 3 remaining laps on the softs, or if he's going to do another stint on the mediums. Honestly, again, with the Genesis as being famously bad on tires, might just be planning to have to do 2 stints on mediums.
Ooh, that was close.
That was close. The Bugle Fingers really pushing it, trying to keep up to Arrow. Almost went off.
See, Strict 9.
Man, Rick Shear is really pulling away out in first. He's got a 20-second lead. Wicked CBR.
Making it look easy. He really has this race, just kind of waiting for the opportunities to get the overtakes on lap 1, and then just gonna play out the strategy. I imagine he does one more lap after this and then box for fuel and softs and calls it a day.
Off to the races.
Indeed.
Or wait, we're already at the races.
Oh yeah, that's right. The CBR a little bit better in fuel, and we did see this in your race where you know, having more fuel, even though you need to pit for fuel, having more fuel allows you to leapfrog people in the pits depending on how close you pit to them. So him having a little bit more fuel at this moment could play to his advantage as well, even though he is going to have to pit again to fill up that tank.
Yeah, with the refueling speed being 10 liters a second, it's not as critical. You know, sometimes when we've had a few of these races where the refuel speed is 3 liters a second, then getting that little bit of fuel saving can make all the difference in those kind of races.
Indeed. Everybody seems to kind of have it under control. The track is virtually completely dry now. You see a little spikes on the moisture meter when they run wide, but nothing major.
Yeah, there's a lot more breathing room on the track now. Everybody can pretty much use all of it. You know, with the exception of the curbs. You want to stay off the curbs and obviously stay off the grass. But the track itself seems to be below that first line everywhere. So everybody can use the whole track.
And that's what we saw in the race right before this that y'all were in, where a lot of people taking too much of the apex curb and pushing them wide, and then them running wide on the exit. We saw that quite a bit from several drivers of just trying to take a bit too much apex and punishing them pretty severely.
Yeah, that is the tricky part. At the Nurburgring, the curbs are big, and they do affect your driving, and especially the inside curbs at almost every corner. That you're right. If they cut it a little too much, it severely impacts. And where McBugle Fingers is coming up here, this one, yeah, like getting on that curb really messes with you. If you can hold back enough to miss that curb, you can take that corner at a much higher velocity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to do. You have to hit it just right because of the angle that you're going.
Yeah, and
in many of these corners, you really got to avoid it if you can.
Yes, spitting bullets. Arrow is low on fuel. He is going to have to box this lap. He should have enough to make it. It is low. He might have to do some fuel mapping or short shifting, but he's definitely going to pit for softs, I would imagine, and get him enough fuel for the final 3 laps.
Yeah, that's going to be real close. Getting to the end of this lap even.
Yeah.
He's down to, what is that, 10% with about a quarter of the lap to go, and especially the high-speed section.
Yeah, indeed. I imagine he's flipped it to fuel map 5 or 6 and is hoping to make it, because especially on that straight, if you run out of fuel, it could really hurt you because that's a long straight to only be able to go, what is it, like 60 miles an hour.
Bull's got a point in chat. Maybe Arrow just does fuel only.
Yeah, his tires look great.
Yeah, he could save about, what is it, about 5-6 seconds by not changing tire, which could help him catch up to Strychnine. But again, Strychnine's planning on not pitting at all. So I don't know that he's really racing Strychnine at this point. He needs to catch up to either Wicked CBR or stay ahead of McBuglefingers, who is, 4.6 back. So yeah, going without the tires could extend that gap enough to give him a lot more breathing room for the final stint.
And he is looking smooth out there, but oh my goodness, that fuel is getting lower and lower and lower.
And the fuel map on the long straight is going to cost you a lot of time too.
Yep, he can see Strychnine. He's right there. Strychnine.
Here's where you need some restraint just to make it to the finish line.
Plenty of fuel.
Or make it to the pits, I mean.
So Rick Shear stays out. He's going to do one more lap before he needs to pit. Wicked, are you going to come in? No, you're going to do another lap for sure. Strick, we know,
they're both
staying
going to
out.
They're both going to do the final two on softs, I'm sure. I think McBuglefingers will probably do the same. So he'll leapfrog Arrow, but then we'll see how Arrow ends up after this next round of pits. Get real low. I think he's going to make it.
Yep. And luckily, the pit entry is where it is, because he doesn't have to go too far.
He caught up to Strychnine. He caught up like a second and a half, just from like the beginning of the long straight to the pits there.
Well, I'm wondering if Strychnine's doing some fuel saving, trying to get those 5 laps.
That would make a lot of sense.
Oh, that's right, because he's doing the one-stopper.
Because he's
that would
doing
make
the
sense.
one-stop. There we go.
Yeah. McBuglefingers picked up a spot.
Again, he will have to pit for fuel. No way that's going to make it to the end. Where's Speed Bump now? Speed Bump coming across the line. Arrow still putting gas in the tank. Speed Bump now ahead, but again, will most likely have to pit a minute off of Rick Shear. That is amazing that Rick is just flying like that. So Arrow comes out in P6, fresh soft tires, plenty of fuel. Doesn't have to worry about Real Sean Man or Calvert, but we'll go back and take a look-see at them. As Real Sean Man does pick up a half-second penalty. And then T. Calvert just doing his own thing back there. I hope you're having a good time, buddy. Back on board with our race leader of 21 seconds. My goodness. About a
in each race this weekend, we've had that one driver that has just dominated.
Yeah.
At the end of it.
Yeah, Shadow Chef certainly had it in mind. That guy was... I got to the end, I was like, man, he is... 30? He was like 35 seconds up.
Yeah,
and I was in third. It's like, geez.
Enigma had a chance at the beginning, but
yeah, I'll be honest. I was picking Enigma in my race to be the one to beat, but Shadow Chef put on a clinic.
Yeah.
And in this one, that's Rick Shear's job here. He is putting on a clinic here. Now he's not pulling away from Wicked as fast as I thought he might. He was 20 seconds up last lap. He's only gained 2 more seconds on him over the course of this entire lap, so he's not fully run away with it. I think Wicked's kind of hit his stride here. Wicked does have more fuel than Rick Shear. So I'm not sure if Rick's gonna... I don't think Rick's gonna need to fuel save, but we're gonna have to keep an eye on that.
If anything, it's just going to be a little bit quicker of a pit stop for Wicked than it is Rick, but with that gap, it's not going to be enough to do anything, because they're both going to have to pit this lap for fuel.
Yeah, with Rick is 43 seconds up on Strychnine, so he basically has that free pit stop. So he'll probably retain, I mean, assuming nothing catastrophic happens, he'll probably retain that P1. But Wicked and Strychnine might be in a pretty close battle after this next round of pit stops. So.
Yeah, with only being 21 seconds behind, it'll be really close.
And we got 6 minutes to watch this unfold.
That was weird. My TV just turned off, and I thought, oh no, but then I looked and all my screens were still going, so it was just my TV for some reason.
Panic moment.
I was
Panic.
like, wait a minute. But I was like, I still hear everything. Let's see how Arrow's doing. Is he able to reel in speed bump?
P4 for that Mustang. Way to go, Josh.
Arrow.
Josh has been really consistent since that
Yeah.
early incident,
Yeah.
making the Mustang work. We all know that the Mustang's been a bit of a boat in this game. It's nice to see it maybe starting to come into its own. People are starting to run it.
No, that'll make Chuck happy.
Absolutely.
I'm more curious with McBuglefinger's Brazilian flag.
Is
Yeah.
he- is-
I know that's not where he's at.
okay.
Must be
Just his account, I was like, is he?
Yeah.
Because all you need is a zip code.
That's right.
Go back over to Arrow real quick, and yep, he is pulling that time. Well, trying to make those softs work for him.
Yeah, I think he's caught about a second on speed bump.
Here we go. Now it's down to 4.3, 4.1. There it is. You can see him now.
Ooh.
Just went off somewhere.
Yeah, did
That was
speed
close
bump have an
game.
issue? Because that was a lot of time gain. Real
Let's see if
quick.
we can see anything here.
A second and a half there.
Did a little bobble in there, but nothing big.
Must have been right before that. Because there
Yeah.
now you see Arrow there in the background. Now it's down to 3.6. Arrow eager to make up some positions after bobbling the pit exit at the end of his first stint. And the track, I mean, you wouldn't have ever known it rained today, by the way that track looks now.
Right?
Turns into a gorgeous day. Now he's down to a second and a half. Uh-oh. Looking like Speed Bump is a sitting duck. As they go through the carousel, he gets a really good exit there.
I really like Arrow's livery.
Yeah,
The colors are great.
he does a good job with that. It seems like every livery he does, he uses those colors. And I actually saw, I let him know, there was a Dodge Charger in my area that was that maroonish color with 2 orange stripes down the middle. I was like, oh my goodness, an Arrow special. And then of course he has my my rainbow leopard there on the back. So
Yeah.
appreciate you, Arrow. But Arrow hops into my lobbies when he can, and always has a really good looking car as he applies the pressure. And thank you, Hector. I appreciate that.
And
Woman
legend,
dancing
right?
indeed. And he's on the back.
He is right there.
The pressure is on. Oh man, this has to be stressful for Speed Bump. On the medium, so we do have a tire offset, and Speed Bump is going to have to pit. These guys are not on the same strategy. This Arrow is...
Both these guys had such a problem coming out of the pits, getting onto the racing tire and now they're locked in this battle.
And what? It looks like
Bump
a
pulls
little
away
bit.
a bit.
And Rick goes into the pits, so we should see Wicked follow suit. Hopefully Arrow can get this move done and we can switch over and see how Strict 9 comes out compared to Wicked. Have a feeling on the straight it's going to be game, set, and match. And
Yeah,
Speed
that
Bump-
NSX.
Well, Wicked's got a 23-second lead. You know, Wicked's got to ask, does he just keep the mediums on just to keep those 6 seconds?
And he needs so much more fuel. Look at that. He only had 9% fuel left. Arrow gets that job done. We're on
I mean,
board.
he could kind of write off P1. Rick Shear's too far ahead, but if he just keeps the same tire, he could retain this spot maybe.
Yep, and then they'd both be on.
But he does change tires.
All right, and now he's fueling. The fuel does go quick. 65% of fuel.
Boy. Guy's gonna be really close.
Yep, he got him.
Oh, he did get him. Okay, not quite as close as I thought.
It was close, but Arrow now
Bugle
had a
fingers.
speed bump.
Just in.
Arrow's gonna
Yep.
should come out in P4 now. So he got past
Yep.
speed bump, gonna get them both on strategy. After making those mistakes, recovering back up to P4, very impressive. We got 2 laps remaining. Where's
Arrow might have to do a little bit of fuel saving to get 2 laps. He's got just a little over half a tank. I'm not sure what the fuel mileage is on these Genesis. Maybe that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I never drive the Genesis or the Group 3 Genesis, so I would not know. I'm gonna take a look. So Rick Shear comes out on the softs. He's got a comfortable lead. Strict 9 now on the worn mediums, half a tank of fuel. Wicked on the softs and can see him. I don't see Strict holding on to this position.
No.
Wicked on the softs.
Wicked on the softs and with more fuel, probably some fuel to spare.
Yeah. Yeah, he's catching him fast.
He's gonna put him
But I mean,
under
Strickland
pressure.
can still end up with a podium after this.
Oh,
which is
absolutely.
not bad. I
Absolutely.
mean, there's quite a bit of distance back to Arrow, and although Arrow's on the softs, that's a lot of time to make up.
It is. It is. And look how quickly Wicked is catching him now.
Yeah.
It's going to be all under braking and accelerating, just making it look kind of easy. And now they don't have to worry about a dry line or a wet line, and they can actually use the whole of the track to get through. Nice in the slipstream now as they come up the hill for a bit of a bravery right-hander. How flat do you keep it? Little lift, back on the throttle. And oh, look at that. He is now,
Yeah, he's going to
there.
have him by the end of this. Unless Strickland doesn't put on a block or something. Oh, but actually they're going to be... Oh, is he going to have him clear by the time we get there? Yes.
Ooh,
Barely.
well done, Wicked. Well done. I don't know that
I ended
there's
up
much.
That's how you do it.
That is how you do it. I'm gonna go check in on Arrow. Arrow's has nice clean air in front and behind. Same with McBugle Fingers. Same with Speed Bump. It's like everybody's got a bit of breathing room here. But Wicked almost goes deep.
Now, with a few less people in the lobby, they've certainly been able to spread out. These last 2 laps, I think, are just a matter of everybody don't make a mistake. You know, you still have to kind of go for it because you don't want to make it so that if the guy ahead of you makes a mistake and you were taking it too easy and now you can't capitalize on it.
Right.
But if nobody makes a mistake, this is probably our finishing order.
But knowing this track, mistakes will be made.
Well, that's just it. I mean, you really are racing the track on this track more than any other because it is so easy for the track to just up and bite you out of nowhere. You can have a 30-second lead just disappear because you go off and have a hard time getting back. Take some damage.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it all depends on where you go off. There's some spots where, you can get away with it, brush the wall, keep going, and then, like in the GP section, there's a lot of runoff where you can get yourself spun around and struggle to get any grip. There's not a wall to push you in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Slowly pulling away now, almost a 4-second gap between Wicked and Strict 9. Starting to feel comfortable. I think he's accepted that Rick Shear is out of touch, barring a mistake, and just has to make sure to keep his distance. Those soft tires showing they are quicker, but then they're going to be a bit worn towards the end, but so will Strict 9's mediums. Will probably not be too happy by the end of his long stint here.
Thankfully, those mediums last quite a while. I mean, he's asking 5 laps out of it. I think you can easily get 5. But you're right. There will probably be a little bit of a performance degradation by the end. But the mediums seem to have a little more. They're a little more forgiving than the softs. Is what I've found. Whenever I run with the mediums, I can actually push them a little harder because I can recover from mistakes easier than on the soft tires that seem to be. They're faster, but you feel like you're on a razor's edge.
Right.
At least that's my experience.
Yeah, they're definitely less forgiving.
Strychnine almost lost it coming out of the carousel, but kept it under control.
Take a look at this on board.
He gets all the way through it, and then the exit of the carousel seemed to have caught him. He was fighting to stay on it here. Gets himself back down, but then hits the throttle and whoop around. Nope, kept it straight.
Good save. And we've talked about that all week, really, with that carousel. It's not trying to carry too much speed and allowing yourself to really stay on the banking, whereas he was kind of straddling it a little bit, and we saw that. Almost
you're
was
going to get to the top and you're going to struggle. You're sort of struggling to bring it back, and then you can't quite have this exit.
Go check out our leader, 25.5 seconds ahead. Looking classy as ever in the Corvette.
That is a very nice looking Corvette. We're going to have to bring him into the fold with the rest of us Corvettes and get him onto the same livery strategy. Although I will say, that one does look very nice.
It does look very nice, and it's his Canada colors. He's making it look easy, really.
How about that? I mean, Rick starting at the back, gets up to P1 on, what was it, lap 2, and has just been driving away.
Yeah, I mean, he made up like 3 or 4 positions going into turn 1, and then continued to push all through the GP section.
Ooh, Strychnine goes off.
Oh, no.
Just overdid it on that corner. Didn't lose a lot of time. Didn't take any damage. He gets up to this fast left-hander here and just outdoes it.
Oh, yep, sure enough. Luckily, keeps it pointing in the right direction. Doesn't get too heavy on the throttle.
It still has almost a 10-second lead on Arrow. So that cushion has become smaller. And he must not have had a good exit getting onto the long straight because he's losing lots of time right now.
Yeah, he is.
Arrow is...
Well, either that or he's on he's got the fuel map down, which could be causing him, but yeah, God, he's lost...
Because he lost a lot of time.
3 seconds by the end here.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time on this straight last lap as well. So I'm guessing it is a fuel mapping.
Arrow could. Oh man, Arrow might catch him by the end. He sees him.
He sees him, and he's going purple. Rick Shear, of course, setting the fastest lap of an 8:15.502. Oh no!
Oh, Strychnine went around.
Oh no! Could it get any worse for Strick?
He really was making that one stopper work.
It's kind of like what we saw with Pyro yesterday. Just, this section's so hard for me. And then that's the worst place to get stuck. There's nothing you can do. And then now you got to Austin Powers your way around. Oh, you hate to see it from Strick. Still manages to hold on to 4th place as they start the final lap. Arrow now with the fastest lap. While all that was happening, Arrow puts down an 8:09.510. Arrow trying to get some points here.
And he's purple. Arrow's purple again too, so he's continuing to push.
He's got
and now I gotta wonder, is McBuglefinger's going to be able to close this 6-second gap? Oh, Strychnine goes off again. Oh man, he's
struggling as McBugleFingers goes purple, and he can see Strychnine up there.
Strychnine's just got to kind of settle in.
It's so hard to do.
he's probably going to have to do some defense near the end of this lap if he wants to hold on to P4.
So difficult to do when you have that many incidents in a row. You just get in your head about it all.
Yep.
Exactly. I do the same thing.
And you know, he's worrying about fuel, trying to make the no stopper work, and now down to 3 seconds between him and McBuglefingers as he goes purple again. Get the chase cam going here. Oh, keep it on the track. Keep it on the track.
And as I noticed in my race, that once you get to all these guys that went to the racing soft for the last 2 laps, you know, their first lap on softs doesn't count because it's an out lap. So
Right.
This really is the fast lap for all the soft runners. That we'll probably see a few of them. We should see a faster lap by the end here. Probably going to beat that 8:09.
I would agree.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. It's just so hard to overtake here. I think McBuglefingers just stay close and kind of count on a potential mistake coming again.
If he knows that he's fuel saving, then he should know that when they get to the long straight, it should be a very easy path.
Mm-hmm.
That he should just hang with him unless the opportunity presents itself. There's really no reason to push it here. If he has an easy pass, you know, go for it. But there's really no reason to like drag race
Right.
to a corner.
Don't need to force the issue. Just let it come to you.
Right. It really should at this point. But as we all know, as racers, to try to actually do that and to dial it back is so difficult.
The number of times I've said, "All right, just be patient," and then full send at the very
The
next
very
corner.
next
It's like I just said it. Oh man, the pressure is on. He wants it. See,
All over him.
we got
He
the
did
fast.
back off on that previous corner, and
Yeah.
he's doing it here too. So he seems to be disciplined. See if he can. He's got a long lap though to maintain that discipline.
And this just has to be so stressful for Strychnine, with that last lap being as disastrous as it was, knowing that you got somebody just breathing down your neck.
Yeah, they say that Mustang is hungry. I think this Mustang is angry.
Yeah. Get a good view of its jaws coming in to chomp on him.
Dun, 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 dun.
There's something
Yes,
about
this-
watching Jaws
This
at
is the
the
kind of
beach.
quality entertainment you can count on around here.
He's
Hungry for freedom. Thank you, Chuck.
just kind of hanging out there. Maybe he has the broadcast
Most of
on
them.
and has been listening to what we were saying about just being patient. Because now it's a full second gap between the two.
I mean, McBuglefingers definitely has the fuel advantage. Question is can Strychnine save enough fuel so that when he gets to the long straight,
He
he can change the fuel map back and hold him off?
give it the full
That's the
beans.
strategy.
Yeah. That's what he's going to have to do. But now a half a second.
Goes a little wide through there. I mean, the problem is even if he does do that, that Mustang should be able to outpower him in the slipstream.
Oh, they both kind of get this wrong. There we go. Settle in there. Settle in there.
Everything seems status quo on the top three.
Yeah,
Yeah, these two are our battle, certainly. Everybody else is plenty spread out.
Yeah, looking at the track map, you can see Rick Shears getting close to that long straight.
You can smell the end.
Yeah. All that work paying off.
Gonna go and
Ooh, here we go. Nope.
ooh,
He has to back out of it. Good play, good play. He thought he had an opportunity there, but couldn't quite get the car turned in and hit the brakes instead of going straight into the back of Strychnine. So good sportsmanship. But it's so frustrating to know you're quicker and just be stuck. Look, he wants it. Nope. Back on the brakes.
nope.
Looking for that spot. At least he doesn't have any pressure from behind. So it's really as
Right.
long as he waits, he's going to be okay.
A little bit easier. Yeah, Rick Shear is 5 seconds purple as he's approaching the braking zone here. He's going to be finishing his lap up in about 10 seconds.
We'll hop over there real quick and watch him finish.
He has got a 42-second lead on Wicked CBR.
And hardly any fuel left.
Congrats to Rick, the dominant victory. An 8:04. Now he's sitting with the fastest lap. Well, Strychnine pulled away a little bit.
As they come into the mini carousel here. Can he get the exit he needs? We've seen several overtakes on this straight today. And it looks like he is going to get that exit. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Tucking that
All right.
slipstream.
Wicked is now on to the final straights. It's going to be crossing the line here.
Oh, does it have the
He's
top
gonna
end
get it.
power?
Wicked finishes off with a good P2. Oh boy.
That's wicked. Woo!
Oh, this is close.
Arrow is out of fuel.
Oh no.
He is coasting. He has got a big lead, but he is coasting at 50 miles an hour. He's going to make it.
Strick back in the slipstream of McBugle Fingers. He doesn't want to give up that fourth position, but he's going to have to, barring an accident. Oh, and he hits the barrier! He hits the barrier into the wall. That's going to allow Strychnine through.
Strychnine keeps P4.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
dramatic ending.
He clips the barrier here coming up. Oh, my goodness. And just right here, he takes it too close. And it...
Oh.
Oh my goodness, all that work.
Oh, it was a matter of inches.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, incredible. Way to not give up. A speed bump
Still a
across
top
the
5.
line.
After that early incident,
Unbelievable.
top 5. Strychnine makes the one-stopper work.
I gotta say,
Great.
Arrow
Great.
with the double, triple spin coming out of the pits, recovering back to P3. Very nice.
How about these two guys at the back? They've stuck with it the whole time. They're getting the seat time, getting some experience in.
Great to see this FT1 too. This car used to be so freaking awesome to drive.
Is he gonna get there in time to get across the line?
Gonna be close.
20 seconds.
Moral victory.
You can do it. You can do it.
Oh yeah, 40 seconds. He's got it.
I'm only showing 9 seconds.
Yeah.
Really?
6,
Oh,
5,
too much.
4, 3. Oh, he was pushing for it.
It was. All right, my
Wow.
timer was off.
Victory. Up 7
Congratulations,
positions.
Rick.
Rick Shear.
Man, what a race again. 4 great races this week.
Papa, will you read through the classifications here?
All right, P1 in the Corvette, PHG Rick Shear with a fast lap of 8 minutes, 4.248 seconds. Congratulations on the win, Rick. P2, we have representative of CBR, Wicked CBR in his Genesis. P3, PHG Arrow, also in a Genesis. P4, PHG Strychnine in the 2013 GTR. Nice job. And rounding out the top 5, McBugle Figures with the Mustang. P6, Speed Bump in the NSX. P7 is Real Shan Man in the FT1. P8, Mr. T. Calvert with his BMW. Nice job, you guys.
Nice job indeed. What a fun day of racing. What a fun day of racing. Thank you, everyone. That was fantastic. Well, you guys both raced today. So we'll start with you, Salamander. Thoughts on this race, and then, of course, a little reflection on your race as well. Oh, did I lose you?
Sorry, I have to get myself off of mute.
There we
I'm
go.
back. I didn't realize I think I muted myself because I was coughing, and then I forgot to unmute myself. No, in this race, the beginning, certainly the top 5 guys all seemed to put on a good show for the first couple laps before they started to spread out. And then we kind of got the top 3. Mm-hmm. But then we saw some different strategy, much like we saw in some of the other races. We saw a one-stopper that did work for the most part. Ended up in P4. Saw some struggles in this one, but all in all was still a good race to watch. We saw some good driving. We saw some respectful passing, and all that good stuff. And then in my race, obviously I just saw it from my perspective. I had a strategy in mind that worked out just the way I thought it was. I was really proud of how I did my race. Really happy with all the people that raced around me. Congrats to Shadow Chef for his victory. Congrats to Rick Shear for his victory as well.
Indeed. And how about you, Papa?
I think we had a great day of racing. Both races were really good. Honestly, the whole Friday nights and today's races were just excellent. It was freaking awesome. My race kind of went as I expected to. I expected to be able to keep up for the first couple laps. But I don't know. I was expecting for it to fall off come, as the track dried out, which it did. But all in all, me personally, I'm glad it's over. We'll move on to Interlagos in the Group 4 cars next week. It should be good. Should be good racing there, too. I think it's a 25-lap race, if I remember right.
Group 4?
Group 4.
Very
and
nice.
Honestly, no rain.
Well, that's lovely. Very, very nice. We got to think of drivers of the day here. Coming to mind is Rick Shear, just from doing that last to first. But I also thought Arrow had an excellent recovery. Sal, I thought you had a great race, and yours. Can you remind me who P1 and P2 of that race were?
Shadow Chef took a pretty dominant victory in mine. Enigma also had a really good race.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I did enjoy.
So, those two guys as well would certainly be mine, along with Rick. And I agree with yours, Rick and Arrow, and then Shadow Chef and Enigma would be my 4.
Gotcha. Do you have any
recommendations? If I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Rick Shear.
Yeah,
that was a pretty impressive run.
It was. Indeed. Well, that was fun. I'm gonna take commentator of the day after. Just really
100%.
Pulling it out
100%.
on that first race. I'm excited to go rewatch it because I was on the edge of my seat that entire race. It was insane. Really, really fun. And I'm so grateful that you two both hopped in here for this second race because I don't know if I had two in a row in me. So I appreciate the support. And it was great working with you guys yesterday as well and throughout the week. Greatly appreciate it. Do we have any announcements we need to do that you know of?
No announcements. I guess just looking forward to next week. Qualifying will start again on Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. So you guys get ready. If you haven't signed up, please go register on the website, papashouseofgame.com. Yes. Registration forms are there.
It is pinned in the chat. There's a link straight to Season 2, so just click that link.
Let's see what else. I guess for me personally, I want to thank Shaggy for putting all this entire season together. Thank all the commentators, T Case, Sal. Yesterday we had Pyro in here and Leo. Well, so I mean, it's been a full broadcast. The chat's been great with their opinions, and they're rooting on their drivers and teams, and it's just been a fun experience. Great couple nights.
I agree.
Actually, the whole week, even with qualifying, it was fun to watch everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely keep checking back to the website throughout the weekend. We do plan to get the points and the standings up, hopefully before the end of the weekend, maybe in time for Memorial Day. So definitely keep watching for that. Along with, we'll be getting posted the race settings to the future races as well. So
Yep.
continue to check back. Continue to be engaged on the Discord. Everybody on there. And yeah, really looking forward to how things are going to shake out next week.
Indeed. I will be busy next weekend, but I will be checking in, seeing what's going on. Should be a lot of fun. That was actually a race I would like to do, is the Interlagos one, but I'm not going to be able to, but I will be around. I do want to say thank you all for the donations, the gifted memberships, the new members. Greatly appreciate it. If y'all haven't already hit the like button, that would be really cool of you. And if you haven't subscribed, I would greatly appreciate it. Be sure to give Salamander and Papa some love as well. If I'm assuming you're already subscribed to their channels, but if not, definitely go over there, subscribe to that, and we will catch y'all later. Thanks again, Shaggy and the rest of the PHG crew. Great racers, better people, and there's only one thing left to say. Game over, man. Game over.